What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty, and welcome to another amazing video. You can follow me on Patreon for exclusive stories. 4JM. Chapter 26 Marine School 5. Advertisement. What did you say? In Building 1, Zephyr in the chief instructor's office stood up abruptly, looked at Shuzo in front of him in astonishment, and asked in disbelief. You mean that little brat, Cross, sent hundreds of ordinary class students into the hospital? It's true, Teacher Zephyr, although the exact number has not been counted yet, it is estimated that there are more than 300 people. Shuzo nodded seriously. This guy. The veins on Zephyr's forehead were throbbing, and he couldn't help but put his hands on his forehead, feeling a terrible headache. Hundreds of students were injured, such a big incident cannot be concealed, and it will definitely spread throughout Marineford Island tomorrow, and everyone will know about it. At this time, Shuzo frowned tightly, and asked with a surprised expression, Mr. Zephyr, who is that guy? How could he have such a strong strength? You must know that the Marine School trains future Marine officers. Even ordinary students who did not enter the elite class of the 950 are well-trained elites, but they were beaten by a 15-year-old kid with his bare hands. Knocking over more than 300 people is outrageous. Is there any point in asking who he is now? Zephyr shook his head angrily, and asked in a deep voice, Tell me, how is the injury? The injury is okay. Cross has a sense of control, at most he only broke 2 or 3 ribs. Speaking of this, Shuzo suddenly admired Cross, who could control his own power to the point where he could only hurt and not kill when he hit hundreds of people by himself. Phew, this brat still knows the general idea. Zephyr breathed a sigh of relief, and asked again, Where are the Cross people? I heard from Uchimura and Gasper that Cross packed food for 20 people in the cafeteria and returned to the dormitory by himself. Shuzo replied. Go and give me that guy. Forget it, just hit him if you hit him. This time, he didn't suspect that he joined the elite class through the back door. Zephyr wanted to call Cross over to give him a reprimand, but after a second thought, still gave up. In the final analysis, the matter lies with him. It is he who wants to use Cross's strength to overwhelm many students in the Marine School. It's just that he underestimated the other party's temper. He didn't expect such a big thing to happen before the end of the day. Teacher Zephyr, is it possible, is this matter over? Shuzo asked strangely. Then what else can we do? Call Cross to reprimand him. Or just fire him? Zephyr sat down and asked helplessly. Advertisement. Shuzo was dumb, and shook his head with a wry smile. He understands very well that Cross just defeated the challenger, and maintained his position, and he did nothing wrong, he just defeated the challenger. Okay, you go down, count the number of people injured, and let the doctors treat those idiots well, so that there will be no sequelae. Zephyr waved his hand weakly. Understood, Mr. Zephyr, I'll deal with it right away. Shuzo answered with a straight expression, and left the office. Oh, sitting alone in the empty office, Zephyr sighed helplessly. Suddenly, the bug who got the phone on the desk opened his eyes and let out a babalu cry. Click. Zephyr raised his eyebrows, reached out to pick up the microphone on the phone bug's back, and said, I'm Zephyr. Zephyr, it's me, Sora, what happened to Marine School? The voice of Marshal Kong came from the phone bug. Obviously, the incident of hundreds of students being injured in the Marine School cannot be hidden from the Marine senior management. Marshal Kong, it's like this. Zephyr shook his head with a wry smile, and had no choice but to tell Kong all about today. After listening to Zephyr's words, Sora was angry and funny, but he didn't want to hold Cross accountable. Just like what Zephyr said to Shuzo before, although this incident is a bit big, the accountability afterwards can be large or small, not to mention that Cross has a sense of proportion. Although there are many injured students, the most seriously injured are in the hospital lying down for more than 10 days is not a big deal. In Marine, the strong are respected. If the skills are not as good as others, the only one who gets injured is his own bad luck. In this way, on the first day Cross stepped into the Marine School, he became famous throughout the Marine School with his astonishing record of overthrowing hundreds of students from the same school, and began his second campus life. Advertisement. When he was in Blue Star, because he was afraid of suffering and didn't want to be restrained, he had never been a soldier, and he was a scumbag, and he had never been to a military academy or anything like that. Unexpectedly, in this life, after time travel and rebirth, joining the army and going to the military academy, he would not be left behind. What surprised him the most was that on the first day of class the study was actually a cultural class. Marine history, navigation, ship command, soldier drill. Cross looked at the brick-thick books in his hand and was dumbfounded on the spot. Originally, he was reborn as an aristocrat and lived the life of a rich man, so he thought he could go wild. As a result, I never expected to learn a series of knowledge such as characters, mathematics, etiquette, clothing, speaking skills, and history since childhood. Now that he came to the Marine School and started to learn about military knowledge from books, Cross had the urge to put down his books and become a bounty hunter at this moment. Fortunately, as a student in the elite class, the study of liberal arts is not important. All you need is a little understanding. The most important thing is personal strength. 50 kilometers of running, 10,000 times of plane vibration, one-on-one weight-bearing fighting, 10 kilometers of swimming, 100 kilograms of weight-bearing diving, except demon fruit power. As the chief instructor, Zephyr has a series of physical training from the beginning, tossing the students of the elite class in different ways. Especially Zephyr said tirelessly while training everyone, whether you were a sniper, swordsman, gymnast or demon fruit power. Physical strength is the most important thing. But you have to say, listen to the other party's nagging, but also admit that he is right. Break through all methods with one force. Only when the body is strong, the strength will rise rapidly. However, Cross's physical talent is too strong, and he can quickly adapt to Zephyr's physical training. If he wasn't too young, Zephyr would definitely increase his training range for fear that excessive training would harm his body. But even so, Cross, who is only 15 years old, still became the first person in the physical training of the entire 3.4 Marine School. In addition to daily boring physical training, students in the elite class will also choose different courses such as gymnastics, fencing, and shooting according to their own preferences. It is a pity that within 2 days after Cross took the swordsmanship class, he had a wooden sword competition with the instructor who taught him, and then beat the other party until his nose was bruised and his face was swollen, leaving a group of people stunned. Obviously, in terms of swordsmanship, the swordsmanship instructors at Marine School have been unable to teach Cross. Ever since, Cross went to gymnastics class again, learned a lot of fighting skills, and then competed with the instructor who taught him. As a result, Cross knocked down 7 or 8 instructors in a row with his strong strength and skillful skills. Especially, he also used the technique of 6 styles in the battle, which shocked Zephyr who was watching the battle. Advertisement Chapter 27 Marine School 6. Advertisement. Shave, Iron Body, Moonwalk, Paper Arts, Tempest Kick, Finger Pistol 6 moves, collectively referred to as 6 moves, is a physical skill that exceeds the limit of human physical strength. The 6 moves are very powerful. If you learn all of them, even the demon fruit power will have the power to fight. But if you want to learn the 6 moves, you must go through rigorous training to learn and acquire them. Now, let me tell you about these moves. Shaved, one of the movement skills in the 6 moves, it is necessary to step on the ground dozens of times at high speed in an instant, 0.36 seconds, to generate explosive reaction force to move at high speed, and it seems to disappear from the eyes of the enemy. Very useful technique. Iron Body, one of the defensive skills in the 6 forms, drums strength into the leanly trained body, making it as hard as iron. Even bullets and swords can't break through. The fly in the ointment is that you can't move freely when using Iron Body, but there are exceptions. As far as I know, the cipher pole of the world government has agents who can maintain Iron Body status. Moonwalk is the application technique of shaving, stepping on the air with a strong foot force, resulting in a strong air force. You can walk in the air like stepping on 14 stairs, but you can't stay in the air for too long. As long as you use this high-altitude movement technique, then you can launch an attack from the enemy's blind spot in the air. In the indoor training ground of Building 14, 50 elite class students gathered together, listening to Zephyr and several instructors explaining the 6 forms on the 30x30 ring. They explained the 6 forms carefully from shallow to deep. At the same time, several instructors who are good at 6 forms are also present, demonstrating 6 forms moves, and smashing a large rock as the target into pieces. Since Cross and other instructors had used the 6 forms in the previous battles, which aroused the interest of many students, Zephyr did not hide his secrets and began to teach everyone about the 6 forms. Cross also listened very carefully to this class. Although he learned a few moves and 6 moves from several CP9 agents such as Lucci, Elmo, and Gadley, he did not learn all of them, and he was self-taught. Yi Luzi was born, so he is naturally not as good as a regular 6-style user. However, Zephyr and several instructors also require everyone to learn all the 6 moves, as long as you choose 1 or 2 moves and 6 moves according to your own fighting style. Of course, it is not mandatory to learn the 6 styles, it is entirely a matter of personal interest. Just like a swordsman, our demon fruit power, whether you learn it or not will not hinder the improvement of your own strength. Okay, let's talk about the 6 styles first. If you are interested, you can come to us in gym class or privately. Now let's start today's battle training. Advertisement. I don't know how long it has passed. After Zephyr took a sip of water, he stopped talking about the 6 poses, but started today's training. After Zephyr and several instructors walked off the ring, the people present fell silent and looked at each other. They didn't know if they were picking their opponents, or they were thinking about letting others go first. Soon, a young man with long brown hair stood up from the crowd, went to the weapon rack next to him, picked up an unsharp sword, and walked onto the ring nervously. Yukimura. Zephyr glanced at the other party, turned his gaze to everyone, and asked loudly, "Who else is going up?" The next second, a long-faced man next to Cross stood up. His long blonde hair was tied into a very short ponytail behind his head. He took a 10-handed gun from the weapon rack, and walked to the main broadcast station with Wukike stand up. Seeing that both of them are on the stage, Zephyr said in a deep voice, "Uchimura versus Kibin, let's start. Please advise. Be polite, teach each other." Uchimura and Kibin bowed to each other and greeted each other politely, then raised their weapons and rushed towards each other in unison. In the next second, the two approached each other and started a fierce confrontation. Wufeng's sword collided with the 10-handed iron rod, and there was a dense sound of dang, clang, clang, which was the symphony of metal and iron colliding, and the friction in the air was shining fire. Cross casually glanced at it for a few times, but didn't pay attention to it, thinking about the 6 poses demonstrated by Mr. Zephyr and several instructors just now. Although Uchimura and Kibin are still good, they can even rank in the top 20 among the 50 students in the elite class, which is much better than those in the ordinary class, but compared to him, they are still inferior too far. Advertisement. Among the 50 students in the elite class, Cross had the strongest swordsmanship, and Uchimura couldn't even survive 3 rounds under his sword. Then there is taijutsu. Apart from Cross, the strongest is Shuzo. As a long-handed man, he has the advantage of long arms, and he has learned a few of the 6 styles from Zephyr early on. His strength is quite strong. As for the strongest person in gun shooting, it is a guy named Duddy Mastason, who is very talented in shooting and has excellent marksmanship. He likes to wear pistols all over his body, and he shoots fast and accurately. The instructor praised him again and again, saying that he is likely to become the most powerful gunner in Marine in the future. Finally, there is Demon Fruit Power. But I have to say that there are a lot of Demon Fruit Powers this year, even including Cross. There are nearly 10 people with abilities, and there are even rare Logia abilities. However, the combat power of the ability users is quite strange. If you only talk about swordsmanship, physical skills or shooting, most of them are very average. Even Smoker, who is a Logia, smoking fruit, ability user, is not too strong. But 230 is that once they cooperate with their own Devil Fruit ability, their combat power will be very powerful, almost exponentially increasing, far exceeding most of the elite class students. Just like the Smoker of Logias, smoking fruit, ability user, if Cross didn't use the Seastone weapon specially designed to restrain ability users, he would not be that guy's opponent at all. No way, Logia Devil Fruit basically has the elementalization ability, which can be immune to physical attacks, only he can hit you, but you can't hit him, it's too stupid. And when Cross was still pondering the technique of using the 6 styles, a voice suddenly came from his ear. Cross, do you want to come up and practice your hands? Hearing the sound, Cross raised his head with a surprised face, and found that the people on the ring had changed, and the battle between Uchimura and Kibun had ended for some reason, and a blond man was standing on it looking at him with a face on his face. There is no expression, but there is a bit of a villain. Gasper, are you going to challenge me? Cross stood up from his seat and asked strangely. I heard that you also ate devil fruit, and you are an ability user, but we haven't seen your ability, so today I want to see your ability. I believe you will not lose face. Gasper said loudly. Advertisement Chapter 28 Marine School 7. Advertisement. Here it goes again. Gasper still likes to bully newcomers. Call, this guy is relying on his own ability. That's right, Gasper is clearly an ability user of Paramesha, but like Smoker, he ignores ordinary attacks, it's too tricky. I suspect that this time, Gasper will kick the iron plate. After all, Cross is a real monster. If you use Seastone weapons, you may not be able to defeat Gasper. That's not necessarily the case. Gasper is not an idiot. I didn't hear what he said just now. We need to see Cross, Devil Fruit ability. If you fight with Devil Fruit ability, Gasper may not lose. The students in the elite class whispered to each other and talked about each other. Some people are optimistic about Cross. Some people are optimistic about Gasper. For a while, it was divided into 2 camps. Because Gaspar's ability is very strange, he is a Paramesha soft candy fruit capable person, but he can turn his body into a green soft candy, into any shape, completely ignoring physical attacks, and his level of shamelessness is almost comparable to that of Logia Devil Fruit. At this time, Cross had a sudden thought, a smile appeared on his face, and said, let's try it out, but my ability is easy to cause damage to the surroundings. I wonder if Teacher Zephyr agrees. It's okay, as long as you don't leave the ring. Zephyr nodded in agreement with a smile on his face. To be honest, Zephyr is also very curious about Cross abilities, and he even went to a large warehouse curry in naval headquarters to see those activated creatures, but after all, he has never seen the other party's abilities in actual combat with his own eyes, so he gladly agreed. What's more, the arena in front of it is about 20 centimeters from the ground, the interior is filled with earth and rocks, and the exterior is paved with stone slabs. Even if it is broken, it is very easy to repair. Since Teacher Zephyr agrees, let's come. Hearing Zephyr's agreement, Cross nodded and walked onto the ring with bare hands, facing Gasper. Don't worry, I will show mercy. A ferocious smile appeared on Gaspar's face, and there was a hint of cruelty in his eyes. Cross waved his hand and said casually, you don't have to, just go all out. HMPH, then I'll be impolite. Advertisement. Gasper snorted twice, his right hand turned into a liquid-like green jelly at this moment, and then quickly solidified, forming sharp spikes. The next second, Gasper stepped forward suddenly, and the spike in his right hand mercilessly attacked Cross. Iron body. Cross shouted in a low voice, and suddenly stretched out his right hand, blocking the green spikes on Gaspar's right hand with his palm. When the two collided, there was a scandium sound like the collision of gold and iron, which even aroused a strong wind. Nani. Gasper was shocked, but he didn't expect Cross to use the defensive skills in 6 forms and blocked his thrust with only his palm. Seeing this scene as well, Zephyr below showed admiration and couldn't help nodding. If you can block the opponent's attack with open black lens bracket iron body close black lens bracket, you will be invincible. Afterwards, Cross lifted the iron body state, grabbed the spike on Gaspar's right hand with his backhand, bullied him decisively, and punched the opponent hard on the head. In an instant, Gaspar's head exploded on the spot, and green sticky fudge flowed out. Ability similar to elementalization, it's really stupid. Cross muttered, and quickly withdrew his hands and backed away to prevent himself from being stuck by Gaspar's ability. He was just trying to see what Gaspar's ability was. Now it seems that it is indeed a difficult and troublesome ability, which is completely wasted by this guy. **hole. At this time, Gaspar's head reappeared, and then angrily waved the spikes in his right hand, attacking Cross frantically. In just one round, his head was blown off. Although he was not injured, it was embarrassing. Paper arts. Cross unloaded all his strength and devoted himself to the airflow changes generated by Gaspar's movements, and he was always able to dodge the opponent's attack at the critical moment. Gasper failed to touch Cross's hem for dozens of times in a row. He was so angry that he yelled again and again, "Little brat, use your ability. Don't be evasive, confront me head on." "Hey, what an impatient guy." Cross curled his lips and said, "Since you want to see my abilities so much, let me show you." Advertisement. As soon as the words fell, Cross turned over and jumped back, out of the attack range of Gasper, then squatted on the ground, pressed the ground with one hand, and immediately cast the ability of the living fruit. Activation Inorganic Reincarnation. Boom. Boom. In an instant, the entire arena shook violently, and one could only see the stone slabs on the arena and the soil and rocks inside surging up under the control of invisible forces, turning into 4 huge mud and rock tentacles, whistling towards Gasper. Smashed it. Boom. 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 Looking at the power in front of him, Gasper was immediately shocked. He didn't even have time to dodge before being smashed to pieces by 4 huge mudstone tentacles. The huge movement shook the entire indoor training ground. Fortunately, Gasper has the ability similar to elementalization, and is immune to physical attacks. He was attacked by 4 huge mudstone tentacles in turn, and they were all smashed into a pool of green jelly, but he was not injured at all. Soon, Gasper came to his senses and roared angrily. "Damn it, it's useless, you can't hurt it." "Yes, then seal you up." Cross was also a little distressed, but then he thought of a way to directly manipulate a mudstone tentacle to roll up Gaspar's body, and then the other 3 mudstone tentacles quickly wrapped around it. As if aware of Cross' thoughts, Gasper was so frightened that he stretched out his hand and turned his arm into a green jelly bean, and then condensed into a solid spike, which quickly stretched forward. Call out. Amid the piercing screams, the green spikes instantly stretched several meters away. "It's this trick again." Li Chenjiao. Cross looked cold, turned his head slightly, and avoided the jellybean spikes that stretched more than 10 meters, and then continued to manipulate 4 mudstone tentacles to wrap around Gaspar's body, gradually forming a mud big stone ball. This time, Gasper was trapped in a large ball of mud and stones with a diameter of more than 5 meters. A large amount of mud and stones squeezed his jellybean body, leaving him no space to materialize. Make him completely unable to come out. Too dependent on abilities. Zephyr, who was sitting under the ring, shook his head and sighed helplessly. If Gaspar's own strength is strong enough, he can completely break the big ball of mud and stone from the inside, thus getting out of trouble. However, Gasper relies too much on his own devil fruit ability, his physical training and gymnastics training are barely up to the standard, and it is impossible to escape from Cross' ability. In this way, just by being sleepy, Cross can trap Gasper alive in the big mud ball. Advertisement Chapter 29 Marine School 8. Advertisement. Winner, Amphitrite Cross. The scene was silent. Zephyr stood up slowly and raised his hand to announce the winner. At the same time, the other students in the elite class were dumbfounded watching the scene on the ring and Cross as the winner. The students in the elite class all thought that Cross's ability was so powerful, and it was so easy to defeat Gasper cleanly. You know, Gaspar's physical training and gymnastics training are very average, but his combat power is really strong. Even if other people use seastone weapons, they can't beat them. His strength is enough to rank among the top 5 in the entire elite class name. Okay, Cross, let go of Gasper. Translate said. Okay. Cross nodded, and waved his hand to control the 4 huge mudstone tentacles to release slowly, and put the pool of green sticky gummies wrapped in the middle back on the devastated ring. Soon, the green sticky thick fudge quickly condensed into a human form, transformed into the appearance of Gasper, but knelt on the ground and panted heavily. It turned out that there was no air in the stone ball, which almost suffocated Gasper to death. Sorry, are you okay? Cross walked forward slowly and asked Gasper with a smile. UB****************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************** face was cloudy and uncertain, he was shocked and angry, and there was a trace of fear. Oh no, what surprised him was that Cross was so powerful that he could find such a way to defeat himself. He was angry that he had been defeated so easily, and he was also angry that Cross had defeated him so easily. As for the fear, it was the sequelae of almost suffocating to death just now, and it was also the fear that Cross could kill himself without using the seastone weapon. He originally wanted to say a few harsh words to show his toughness, but the horror of being almost suffocated just now still enveloped his heart, making him unable to speak out even though the words were on his lips. In the end, Gasper grimaced, let out a cold snort, left the ring without saying anything. Advertisement. Shish. There were boos in the audience, and many students in the elite class looked at Gasper who was off the ring gloatingly, which made Gaspar's expression even uglier. Okay, is there anyone else next? Zephyr stood up and asked again in a deep voice. At this moment, Cross was still standing on the ring and said, Teacher Zephyr, I want to fight Smoker again. As soon as this remark came out, everyone was in an uproar, and turned their attention to Smoker who was smoking a cigar. Smoker was talking to Hina beside him. When he heard Cross's challenge, he couldn't help being stunned, and looked at Cross on the ring in surprise. Everyone knows that Smoker himself is a thorn in the side, smoking, drinking, fighting, not to mention in the entire Marine school, even in the elite class, there are very few friends. However, Smoker, as a Logia smoking fruit ability user, is also good at using 10 hands, and a sea stone is inlaid on the top of the 10 hands to restrain demon fruit power. In terms of strength, he is almost recognized as the first person in the Marine School. Smoker. Zephyr frowned slightly, turning his gaze to Smoker. Smoker stood up biting his cigar, exhaled a puff of smoke, looked at Cross impatiently, and said, "It's really troublesome, don't you guys want to compete with me? Your ability is smoke, you can't catch it with the method just now." Cross smiled and shook his head, and said, "Smoker, I challenge you, naturally it is a fair fight, if you don't mind, you can also come up get me a 10 hand, like yours, with a sea stone topped 10 hand. Using sea stone weapons to restrain my abilities. Hee, it's too much to take for granted," Smoker said angrily. Afterwards, his arm turned into a white column of smoke, extending to the weapon rack like a white snake, and then he condensed his palms, grabbed a handful of hands and threw them towards Cross on the ring. "Nah, thank you very much." Cross thanked with a smile, and reached out to grab the 10 hands that flew towards him. "HMPH, don't thank me so early." Smoker also grabbed the other hand, and said in a cold voice, "I won't show mercy." As soon as the words fell, Smoker's lower body turned into billowing white smoke, and suddenly rushed towards Cross on the ring. "Is this the start of the fight? Hey, but it really fits your character." Cross looked at Smoker who was rushing towards him, and the 10 hands who poked him mercilessly, and couldn't help but let out a chuckle. The next second, Cross turned his head to dodge, and saw Smoker's 10 hands brushing against his ear, and the strong wind blowing his hair. Advertisement. Then Cross didn't keep his hand, and the 10 hands in his hand swept out towards Smoker's body, breaking Smoker's body in two amidst the howling wind. It's just that Smoker's body has already turned into white smoke, and the Cross's attack that he avoided in an elemental way, only the position above the chest of the upper body, still retains the entity. Afterwards, Smoker clenched 10 hands and played against Cross. Scandium. The two 10 hands collided together, and there was a harsh sound of gold and iron colliding, and a few sparks splashed in the air. Rumble. Almost at the same time, the ground on both sides of the arena roared, and two huge mudstone tentacles attacked at the same time, one left and one right. HMPH, this little trick can't defeat me. Smoker snorted dismissively, and even though his body was pierced by two huge mudstone tentacles, his body turned into white smoke that filled the air, drowning Cross on the spot. In the smoke. However, in an instant, there was a dull sound, and the originally pervasive white smoke quickly gathered and turned into Smoker's body. At this moment, Smoker flew upside down, spitting out blood, leaving an intermittent line of blood in the air, and then smashed heavily on the ground a few meters away. "Are you an idiot, Smoker?" Cross weighed the 10 hands in his hand, and cursed coldly, "Facing sea stone weapons, turning into smoke is equivalent to enlarging the hitting area of your body, because I think I will be attacked by you. Did the little trick fool you? Damn, you be asterisk 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 D." Smoker covered his chin in pain, leaned on the ground with his 10 hands, and stood up from the ground staggeringly. Shave. Suddenly, Cross disappeared in place. Not good. White smoke launcher. Smoker's face changed, and his lower half% body turned into smoke again, and sprayed out smoke in an instant to produce an explosive reaction force, making himself fly into the sky like a cannonball. Moonwalk. A ring-shaped steam storm cloud visible to the naked eye appeared in the air, and Cross appeared in midair almost out of thin air at a ghostly speed, just in front of Smoker. "Hey, Smoker, where do you want to run?" Finger pistol obtuse angle. Advertisement Chapter 30 Marine School 9. Advertisement. How come? Smoker stared wide-eyed, watching the 10 hands in Cross's hand poke his stomach at such a fast speed that he had no room to react. He felt the intense pain in an instant, and even made him lose consciousness. Under the impetus of a powerful force, his body flew backwards at a faster speed than before, and crashed on the ring. Bang! Amidst the huge roar, the ring was shaken violently, a cloud of smoke and dust rose into the sky, and a large amount of earth and rocks splashed out in all directions. Then, Cross fell from midair, and with a bright smile, he waved to his classmates below the podium. Winner, Amphitrite Cross. Zephyr stood up shaking his head, loudly announcing the winner. One after another, they all rely too much on fruit abilities. After a while, the dust dissipated, and a broken pothole appeared on the ring. Smoker's eyes were white inside, and he had already lost consciousness. Are you kidding? Smoker lost now. That guy, Cross, is he a monster? Hina was shocked, defeated Smoker so easily, it was a monster. At this moment, the students in the elite class were so shocked that their eyes popped out, and their faces showed incredible expressions. The dignified Logia demon fruit power, the first person in the Marine School, lost like this. Levi, send Smoker to the hospital. Zephyr waved at the instructor beside him and said. Advertisement. Don't worry, Mr. Zephyr, I've got my strength. Cross said on the ring. In fact, he didn't expect that once he could restrain Logia's elementalization, Smoker would be so vulnerable. The instructor named Levi gave Cross a strange look, and hurried up to the ring, picked up the unconscious Smoker on his back, and quickly ran outside. Afterwards, Zephyr looked at the devastated arena, shook his head helplessly, and said in a deep voice, Okay, the arena has been destroyed like this, let's end today's lesson. Get out of class is over. After the class ended, the story of Cross defeating Smoker spread like crazy, and soon spread throughout the Marine School. Even Logia's demon fruit power can easily defeat, and Cross's strength almost surprised everyone. Of course, there are also people who think that if it is normal, Smoker can definitely defeat Cross without Seastone weapons, and Logia's ability users will not be so weak. It's just that the discussion in the Marine School didn't change the fact that Smoker lost, and lost openly. For a while, many people in the Marine School changed their attitude towards Cross, thinking that Cross was the strongest in this elite class, and some well-informed people inquired about Cross's specific abilities, as well as his previous experience before coming to Marine School. Deeds. As an important combat force, he participated in the Battle of Carlo Island and played an important role in Marine's campaign to encircle and suppress the piercing pirates. This time, the students of the Marine School were convinced, and they understood the specific reason why Cross could join the Marine School and become a student of the elite class by default. However, at this time, Cross ignored the disturbance from the outside world, because he was asking Zephyr for more powerful power. You want to learn Haki? In the office of Building No. 1, I went to look at the Cross in front of me in surprise. He didn't expect Cross to come over after class, and he wanted to learn Haki, which is more powerful and advanced than 6 forms. This is not easy to learn. Yes, Mr. Zephyr, without Haki, facing Logia or special paramesha ability users is too disadvantageous. I am not only an ability user, but also a swordsman. Seastone weapons are always an unreliable external force for me. Cross with a heavy expression, Shen remembered the scene where he was suppressed by Doflamingo and Obaka with armament Haki. Advertisement. You're only 15 years old, you don't need to be so anxious to improve your strength, the most important thing is to lay a good foundation. Zephyr frowned, and didn't think it was necessary for Cross to learn Haki at his current age. In fact, during the Marine School period, Zephyr paid more attention to the foundation of the sailors. Because physical training alone takes up a lot of time, and then according to their own characteristics and obstacles, they have to learn gymnastics, swordsmanship or shooting, plus liberal arts studies. If they have to teach them Haki, it is a bit greedy. I can't chew it, Mr. Zephyr, the current teaching in the Marine School is not very useful to me. Besides, I have fought against Haki users more than once. I know in my heart whether it is necessary to learn Haki. Cross said in a deep voice, and I was born with observation Haki. When North Blue and Doflamingo were fighting, I also awakened Conqueror's Haki. In Conqueror's Haki, I am only short of armament Haki. Asking for flowers. You were born with observation Haki. And you have Conqueror's Haki. Zephyr looked at Cross in shock. It is recorded in the file that Cross is an observation Haki user, but it is not said that he is a natural observation Haki user, let alone that he knows Conqueror's Haki. It turns out that those people who were stunned by Conqueror's Haki in the Kingdom of Lovely made Marine think it was Doflamingo's handwriting, but they didn't know that it was caused by the collision of Conquerors when Cross and Doflamingo were fighting, so there is no such thing in the file. Related records. 0. When I was in North Blue, although I was born with observation Haki, no one taught me, so I found out the use of observation Haki by myself, so I need to ask you for advice just for the use of observation Haki. Teacher Zephyr, do you still want to reject me? Cross said in a flat tone. The reason why he came to the Marine School was to learn how to use Haki from inside the Marine. It is much faster to say one sentence well, to pass on one sentence really, and to pass on thousands of books falsely, and it is much faster to be taught by someone than to grope and learn by oneself, and it is not easy to go astray. Otherwise, Cross would have to keep fighting with pirates, and he would learn slowly in every fierce life and death battle, the risk factor is too great. After listening to Cross's words, Zephyr thought for a moment, then slowly said, okay, since you insist, then I will teach you how to use armament Haki and observation Haki. As for Conqueror's Haki, I will let Sengoku take the time to teach you. There are too few Conqueror's Haki in Marine, the only suitable person is Admiral Sengoku, and even Zephyr himself doesn't have Conqueror's qualifications. Thank you Teacher Zephyr. Cross had a smile on his face and quickly thanked him. He is not worried about his talent, what he is worried about is the trouble in learning Haki. If someone teaches him, he can save unnecessary trouble and time spent in searching for it by himself. Advertisement Chapter 31 Marine School 10. Advertisement. Haki, the potential power that all human beings have, this power is the innate ability, aura, murderousness, fighting spirit. When you manipulate these invisible feelings, the willpower can be turned into a weapon, this powerful force, people call it Haki. You have observation Haki, so I won't say more, I will teach you how to use it more skillfully in battle. I don't have Conqueror's Haki, so I'm not familiar with it. When Sengoku comes, let him teach you. The last is armament Haki, which is a power that enhances one's defense. It acts like invisible armor, and can be transformed into attack power, which can then compete with demon fruit power, and even touch Smoker's body. Zephyr was telling Cross about the basic knowledge about Haki, and demonstrated armament Haki to Cross, but his sudden sentence really made Cross a little speechless. Teacher Zephyr, don't be so disgusting, I'm not interested in Smoker's body. Cross said with a look of disgust. Well, it looks like you don't like my humor. Zephyr shrugged indifferently, and continued, you said that you have fought against a powerful Haki user, I believe you must have been very touched, so I will teach you how to practice armed color bully. Afterwards, Zephyr began to teach Cross seriously, teaching him how to practice armament Haki. First of all, to practice armament Haki, you must have a strong enough physical fitness, otherwise you will not be able to condense armament Haki, or the armament Haki you can cultivate yourself is limited in strength. Fortunately, this hard standard, Cross has reached the standard early. I believe that in the entire Marine School, even if it includes all the instructors, only Zephy's physical fitness is stronger than Cross. In this way, time passed bit by bit when Cross was addicted to learning. Inadvertently, time flies by like a flash, and the second half of C Circle Calendar 1507 ends, and C Circle Calendar 1508 comes to an end. At the same time, Cross is 16 years old, which also represents his 16th year in this world. Advertisement. This year, the turmoil on the sea has not stopped in any way, and the great pirate era, set off by One Piece, Luogia has intensified, making Marine desperately expand its army, constantly attacking the surging number of pirates. However, there are too many injustices in the world, and the world government and celestial dragons oppress the major countries under their banners with powerful force in the name of unsold gold. As a result, the royal families and nobles of the major kingdoms transferred their own oppression to the citizens under their command, and squeezed them her to the utmost, thus making countless people unbearable to be oppressed. UGN set sail, went to sea and became pirates, and then using more brutal means to display their own tragic experience on other people, thus exacerbating the chaos on the sea. More blood flowed, and more tragic things happened almost every moment. Blood and tears, wailing and crying, corpses and flesh and blood, oppression and killing. Pirates are screaming, innocent people are screaming, and careerists are also carnival. Countless people are enjoying the chaos on the sea, because in this way they can do things conveniently and realize their ambitions step by step. At the same time, Marine is attacking everywhere, in the name of justice, constantly attacking pirates on the sea, exercising legal violence. But in the end, the situation on the sea did not improve at all, but worsened, because every time Marine wiped out a pirate, 2 pirates would appear, and every time a pirate group was wiped out, there would be more pirates. Thieves are being formed. It has to be said that the world government and celestial dragons oppressed many kingdoms under their banners, and the royal families and nobles of the major kingdoms were desperately oppressing the citizens. The citizens couldn't bear it, so they set sail to the sea and became pirates, and then went to the world with the mentality of revenge. Hurting others, exacerbating the chaos of the world, and then attracting Marine's siege, so Marine's military expenditure surged, and the world government began a new round of oppression against the major kings. Such a vicious cycle is like a deformed cycle. It is unknown when it will be completely broken, or it will continue. In short, who knows? On this day, in the port of Marineford, countless sailors were busy, either moving supplies, or inspecting warships, or gathering a whole team in the open space. Assemble quickly, don't procrastinate. Check your weapons and bring everything you need. Who else hasn't arrived? Inspectors from various units. There are all of them, start counting. On the open space in front of a warship, 50 students from the elite class, and more than 300 students who had just been promoted from the 4th grade to the 5th grade, all gathered together and formed a neat square formation. Advertisement. A dozen instructors headed by Zephyr stood in front of the phalanx, with serious expressions and a serious look. It turned out that today is the internship day of the elite class, and Zephyr will personally lead a group of trainee sailors to fight against pirates in the sea, not only to let their newcomers see blood, but also to cultivate everyone's actual combat experience. Similarly, students in the regular class of the Marine School will be distributed to various Marine branches for a 2-year internship when they are promoted from the 4th grade to the 5th grade. However, in the first half a year, the 5th grade students will be led by Zephyr himself together with the students of the elite class. After half a year, the students of the elite class will graduate, and then they will be distributed to various Marine branches. Of course, there is another reason for this. Because of Zephyr's identity and the importance of elite class students, naval headquarters will definitely be equipped with the best warships. However, the best warships in Marine are naturally ships above Vice Admiral, and they are also first-class warships that perform buster call. Because this kind of warship is the strongest and most aggressive warship in Marine, and it is built by the Imperial Shipyard of the capital of Seven Waters. Therefore, even if the current warship is a sail hybrid, instead of sailing by manpower, it is difficult for an elite class of only 50 people to control such a large warship. Fortunately, there are basically more than 300 students in the ordinary class of the 5th grade, plus 50 students in the elite class. The number is close to 400, so there are enough people to control the sails and artillery. No 3.6 is for letting the weapons on the warship become decorations. Not long after, all the preparatory work was completed, and Zephyr commanded nearly 400 students to board the ship, and Cross followed the flow of people and once again boarded the Marine's first-class warship. The Marine Academy has practice classes. Whether they are elite class students or ordinary class students, they have boarded all levels of Marine warships and learned the knowledge and skills of manipulating warships, so everyone can control this warship as soon as they get started. However, there are not only Zephyr, Cross and others on this warship, but also a group of other kind of existence, that is, the activated creatures that Cross brought back to naval headquarters from Sculpture City, Skokie. A total of more than 700 flying living creatures, all resurrected sculptures and statues, all stayed on this warship, and the most conspicuous of them was naturally the metal black dragon lying on the large deck. Advertisement Chapter 32 Escort Missions and Roberts Bartholomew. Advertisement. Originally, I was planning to lead you to visit the 4 seas in the first half of the Grand Line, to fight against pirates, to let you see the blood and increase your actual combat experience. On the deck, Zephyr faced the 387 students of the Marine School with a serious expression, and said in a deep voice, "But this year is very special, because it is the World Summit that is held every 4 years, and there will be monarchs from 50 countries who joined us. the Holy Land Mariajoy, to discuss issues about security and order in the world, which requires our marine to escort. Report. In the crowd, Cross frowned slightly, and couldn't help asking loudly, Teacher Zephyr, have we been recruited too? That's right, Marine's mission at this stage is to suspend all military operations and do our best to ensure the safe return of 50 kings, so we have also been recruited to temporarily take charge of the Flevance kingdom in North Blue. Zephyr nodded, unexpectedly raised, arriving at a name that is very familiar to Cross. Flevance kingdom. Teacher Zephyr, you mean the one in North Blue, White Town, Flevance? Cross asked in surprise. I remember you are from North Blue, Cross, you should be very familiar with Flevance kingdom. Zephyr said with a smile. Yes, everyone in North Blue knows that it is a rich and beautiful country famous for its beautiful Peled 14 mine. Cross' eyes flickered, and there was a touch of sarcasm in his indifferent tone. Zephyr didn't understand the sarcasm in it, and continued to smile and said, well, it's really time to experience it. Okay, let's get back to our places, we're going to set sail. Naval Headquarters, Fort Marshal's office. Jonathan Commodore, what is the status of the various royal families? Sitting behind the desk, Kong Kong asked the man in front of him in a deep voice. There is no problem. Jonathan is a man with reddish hair and brown eyebrows, wearing a white jacket and pants, and a black waistband, with the dogs of justice. Advertisement. Where are the pirates? Sora's expression softened a bit, and he asked again. Currently, there are more than 20 pirates intending to kidnap the royal family, but the frigate repelled them before they approached the ship. Jonathan replied solemnly. Very good. Tell the patrolling troops that we must not relax our vigilance for a moment, we must guard every waterway. In addition, the guards must also work hard, so that the pirates must not disturb the royal families. Sora nodded with satisfaction, his tone still serious. Road. Suddenly, Kong seemed to think of something, and asked again, by the way, has the Marine School's warship left the port? Marshal, I just received the news that their warship has already left, but... Jonathan said hesitantly, it's really useless to ask a group of trainee students from the Marine School to escort the royal family of the Kingdom of Flevance. Question. Kong laughed and said with relief. Don't worry, there is a former Marine admiral on that ship, with Zephyr in charge, the royal family of Flevance kingdom is safe, I am afraid that only the royal family of Alabasta escorted by Garp can compare. I almost forgot, with Teacher Zephyr here, there will be no problem. Jonathan showed a dazed expression. Report, Marshal Kong. Suddenly, a sailor ran in, saluted the air, and then said anxiously, there is news from the intelligence department that there is a change in the Roberts Legion, they suddenly appeared in the first half of the Grand Line. Nani. Hearing this, Sora's face changed slightly, and he said in shock, why didn't the Marine of the New World stop it? Why didn't that guy from Sengoku report? Did the intelligence department investigate clearly what caused them to run from the New World to the first half of the Grand Line? Quote. Sorry, Marshal Sora, the intelligence department hasn't investigated the reason yet. The pirate replied. Damn it, it's actually at this time. Wait, I probably know the reason. Kong commanded something to think of, and said to himself, if I guess correctly, that guy Roberts Bartholomew the target should be the Kingdom of Germa. It's Vince Moke Judge. Kong frowned, looked up at Jonathan, and asked in a deep voice, the Kingdom of Germa will also participate in this World Summit. Who is responsible for the safety of Vince Moke's royal family? Jonathan thought for a few seconds, and then replied, Marshal Kong, the Kingdom of Germa rejected our escort, saying that they would arrive at the Holy Land Mariajoy before the World Summit started, and the intelligence department did not know their specific details. Location. Advertisement. Judge, if before the World Summit, the royal family who participated in the meeting were killed by percent, it would be a big scandal. Sora said with a headache. Marshal Kong, how did you know that Roberts Bartholomew's goal would be the Kingdom of Germa? Jonathan asked puzzled. Do you know about the massacre in the Ahib Kingdom? Sora asked. I read in the newspaper that 5 years ago, Roberts Bartholomew led tens of thousands of soldiers to launch traitors and massacred the royal family and nobles of the Ahib Kingdom, causing thousands of deaths. Jonathan replied. That's right, that was 5 years ago. Roberts Bartholomew was originally the general of the Kingdom of Ashby, commanding the army of the entire kingdom, and defeated the attacks of several hostile countries on the Kingdom of Ashby. Known as the Sword of Ahib. As if lost in memory, Kong revealed a trace of pity in his tone, and slowly narrated. Later, those hostile countries jointly hired Germa with titles such as War Expert, War House, and Evil Army. 66. Let them attack the Kingdom of Ahib. Therefore, a great battle broke out between the Ashby Kingdom army led by Roberts Bartholomew and the Germa 66 commanded by Vince Moke Judge. The final result was that the Ashby Kingdom army repelled Jamal 66, making the war has become one of Germa 66's few defeats. However, that war also caused the Kingdom of Ahib to pay a heavy price. Even the king, Ludi 7, died in battle. After the new king came to the throne, he thought that Roberts Bartholomew's reputation was too great, so that the kingdom's army only knew the name, Ahib's sword, and did not obey the king's orders, so he became jealous of him. So they united with other nobles in the kingdom, poisoned Roberts Bartholomew at a dinner party, and attempted to kill him. But Roberts Bartholomew was poisoned but survived, escaped from the palace, and returned to the barracks, and his subordinates became angry when they learned of the new king's actions, so in irreversible there is a rebellion. That night, Robert's 720 Bartholomew led the angry royal army to defeat the palace guards, quickly broke into the palace, killed all the members of the royal family and the nobles at that time, and almost destroyed the entire Ahid, the upper echelons of the kingdom. However, the kingdom of Ashby is a member country of the world government. It is a felony to wantonly kill the king. Robert's Bartholomew was also wanted by the world government. As a last resort, he had no choice but to set sail and lead the soldiers who were willing to follow him. Join the Roberts Legion, and act as pirates and mercenaries at sea. Moreover, Robert's Bartholomew believes that the cause of all this is caused by Germa 66 and the countries that paid for Germa 66, so he kept attacking Germa 66 when he was in North Blue. And those hostile countries. But after all, he is already a pirate, and he is also a felon wanted by the world government, so he was besieged by our marine, world government, Germa 66 and several North Blue kingdoms, but he was not wiped out. Instead, he led the Roberts army to escape. Arrived on the Grand Line, escaped to the New World. This time, the World Summit was held, and Robert's Bartholomew saw that in order to ensure the safety of the 50 kings, Marine was shrinking his troops with all his strength, and was unable to launch a large-scale military operation against his Roberts Legion. In addition, the Kingdom of Germa was also invited to participate, so I am afraid he thinks this is a rare opportunity for revenge. Speaking of this, Kong couldn't help taking a deep breath, and ordered in a deep voice, report this matter to the world government, let the CP organization and the Marine Intelligence Division find the location of the Roberts Legion at all costs, and also notify Germa. Forget it, I'll call Vince McKay judge myself. Advertisement Chapter 33, White Town, Flevance. Advertisement. North Blue Flevance Kingdom. The huge warship slowly entered the port and slowly docked at the pier. The huge white sail had a pattern of seagulls of justice, and the flag of seagulls of justice was flying, all of which showed the identity of this huge warship. After more than half a month of sailing, the warship came to North Blue from the naval headquarters in the first half of the Grand Line, rain or shine. After a lapse of more than half a year, Cross returned to the sea of his hometown, and his mood has not fluctuated. This is the rumored White Town, Flevance. It's so beautiful, like Chong Fu in a fairy tale. That's right, all of them are as white and flawless as ice and snow. Look at the people here, the skin and hair are also very white. On the deck of the warship, a group of trainee sailors who have not yet graduated from the marine school are lying on the edge of the ship, each with their eyes wide open, looking at the beautiful picture in front of them in amazement. Cross also stood on the deck, looking at that white town in front of him, and couldn't help showing a fascinated look. The reason why Flevance Kingdom is called White Town is because the ground and trees in the country are as white and flawless as the land of ice and snow in the fairy tale world, and it is a country as beautiful as a fairyland on Earth. Even most of the buildings are white or beige, and there are few other colors. In addition, the kingdom of Flevance is very rich. All the castles, small buildings and houses are beautifully built, which makes the whole country even more beautiful. Has a fantastic landscape picture. I didn't expect the kingdom of Flevance to be so beautiful. This trip is really worthwhile. Suddenly, Zephyr came to Cross's side, and his amazed words awakened Cross, who was immersed in the beautiful scenery. Cross woke up suddenly, squinted his eyes, and couldn't help but sneered in his heart. Outsiders don't know the inside story of White Town, doesn't he, a traveler, not know about it? This beautiful country is actually a poisonous city, and even the people of this country have already been poisoned to the bone marrow, and the medicine is hopeless. Okay, be quiet. At this time, Zephyr clapped his hands, and after attracting everyone's attention, he said loudly, you have half a day off today, you can go ashore and enter the city, and go shopping around, but you must come back before 12 o'clock at night, because tomorrow we will to leave, officially escort the king of the kingdom of Flevance to the Holy Land. Open black lens bracket Mariajoy close black lens bracket, no one should delay the escort mission. Advertisement. It is already past 3% in the afternoon, so it is not suitable to carry out escort missions at night, not to mention that the warship has sailed on the sea for more than half a month, everyone needs to rest, the supplies need to be replenished, and the warship needs to be overhauled, so there is no need to rush. Long live Teacher Zephyr. Finally we can go ashore and drink good wine. I've always heard that the sweet seasoning of the kingdom of Flevance is good, this time I can try it. That's right, there are also amber lead products that are quite good, and you can buy 2 souvenirs to take back. Teacher Zephyr, do you want to have a drink together? Everyone on the warship cheered and yelled happily, and even asked to call Zephyr together. I'm going to the palace of Flevance Kingdom later, you go by yourself. Zephyr smiled, waved his hand and said, but be careful, don't drink too much, it will delay tomorrow's voyage, I won't, please forgive me. Everyone laughed. Ha ha. Then put down the board, leaned against the long wooden embankment on the pier, and each of them hooked their shoulders and put their backs on their backs, ready to go ashore. Do you want to be together? At this time, Hina came over and asked. No, I don't want to set foot in this country. Cross shook his head, thought for a while, and still couldn't help reminding. Hey, if you play and eat in Flevance Kingdom, don't touch anything made of ammonium. His voice was loud enough not only to alert Hina, but to be heard by hundreds of people on deck. Hey, why don't you touch ammonium lead products? Is there something wrong with the amber lead products of the kingdom of Flevance? Cross isn't kidding, is he? Everyone looked at Cross with strange expressions, and couldn't understand what Cross said very much. If I remember correctly, herb lead, this kind of lead ore is a characteristic of Flevance Kingdom. It can not only be used to produce tableware, paint, sweet seasoning, cosmetics, but also to make weapons. Especially it is a high-quality amber lead product, and it has many buyers all over the world, which is why the Flevance kingdom has become so prosperous. Is there any problem with ammonium lead products? Zephyr wondered. Shen asked loudly. Advertisement. That's right, even the world government has participated in the transportation industry of unlucky lead products, and thus made a lot of profits. There should be no problem, right? Hina said with a puzzled face, puzzled. Whatever you want. Anyway, I have already reminded you. Cross didn't want to explain in detail, but after saying something, he turned and returned to the lower deck. Seeing the back of Cross leaving, everyone was completely quiet for a while, and the originally cheerful atmosphere became dignified. The students in the elite class have been with Cross for half a year, and the rest have also been with Cross for more than half a month, so everyone understands that Cross will not talk nonsense for no reason. Zephyr's expression flickered, and he said slowly, Cross won't be aimless, he must know some secrets. After you go ashore, remember what Cross said, and don't touch anything made of lead. Do you understand? Clear. Everyone responded in unison. Very well, let's go. Zephyr nodded in satisfaction, waved his hand casually, and motioned for everyone to disband. But at this time, everyone on the deck walked heavily, and their expressions were not as cheerful as before. Although they still left the warship with their shoulders crossed, they were still discussing in whispers. Although they don't want to touch any ammonium-made objects, it doesn't prevent them from eating, drinking and having fun, but it's a pity that they can't experience the characteristics of the Flevance kingdom. Zephyr stood on the deck and watched the students leave, then turned around and went to the lower deck to find Cross. In the dark lower deck, there was a sound of footsteps on the wooden floor, and Cross, who was lying on his bed, opened his eyes and watched Zephyr walk to his bed. Are you here to ask me about Pokken? What do you really know about Po Lead? No need, Teacher Zephyr, it's too late. Cross and Zephyr looked at each other, the former looked helpless, while the latter looked serious. After a while, facing Zephyr's stern gaze, Cross shook his head helplessly, cursing himself. Damn it, I shouldn't have reminded you, the first time you touch ammonium lead products, nothing will happen, I'm so stupid already. Advertisement Chapter 34. Advertisement. Damn it, tell me, Cross, what's wrong with Peled? Zephyr's complexion turned ugly in an instant, and he asked in a condensed voice. Purple lead products have a large number of buyers all over the world. If there is any problem with purple lead, you will not understand, it will be a big problem. A total disaster. It is not empty talk that lead products have a large number of buyers all over the world. Even inside Marine, many people like lead products, and even spend a lot of money to buy high-quality lead products. Especially the cosmetics and sweet seasonings made by open black lens bracket per lead close black lens bracket, one is smeared on the face, and the other is eaten directly into the stomach. Mr. Zephyr, in fact, as long as you don't come into contact with the developed lead mine, pure lead products should not cause too many problems. Cross explained. Of course, those who put lead cosmetics on their faces, or eat the sweet seasoning made by Po Lead, there is still a high chance that something will happen. Then you mean that there is a problem with the developed Po Lead mine? Translator asked with a frown. Mr. Zephyr, why do you think the citizens of Flevance kingdom have white skin? It's not vitiligo. Cross sat up from the bed, shaking his head. Be more specific. Zephyr frowned. The specifics are, pink ore is poisonous, Cross said with a heavy complexion, and said in a low voice. Once the ore is excavated, it will produce toxicity, and then accumulate in the body of the subject who has been exposed to the ore. The snow-white Madara blocks will appear on the nationals of the kingdom of Flevance, because they all have a disease called polylead disease. This disease is caused by the long-term accumulation of heavy metal poisoning caused by exposure to the developed lead ore. Not only will the infected person turn pale due to the accumulation of toxins in the lead ore, but the accumulated toxin will continue to be passed on to future generations, causing the lifespan of the offspring of the infected person to be shortened, and eventually the infected person will become extinct. At that time, the skin and hair will become whiter and whiter, and they will die in great pain. This is impossible. Zephyr had an expression of disbelief on his face, and couldn't help but growl. I remember that the world government once sent people to the kingdom of Flevance to conduct a geological survey. Perban shouldn't have a problem. Quote. World government. Hee. Advertisement. Cross laughed sarcastically, and said contemptuously, even the royal family of the Flevance kingdom gave up their citizens because of money, so how can the world government meddle in their own business? But, the rise of the ammonium lead industry has a history of 100 years, but nothing major has happened in the past 100 years. Zephyr still couldn't believe it, or he didn't want to believe it. How can there be such a stupid royal family who would give up the whole country because of money? Yeah, the origin of the lead industry was about 100 years ago, and it would die from the 70s at the beginning, then die in the 50s, and die in the 30s. Only 3 fifth-generation people are needed, there will be a generation that will get sick and die before they reach maturity. Cross stared at Zephyr, and slowly asked, 100 years is enough to give birth to 3 fifth generations, you said, the kingdom of Flevance is still alive. How long can it last? This. Immediately, the pupils in Zephyr's eyes dilated instantly, and his whole body shook as if struck by lightning. If counting from 100 years ago, there will indeed be 3 fifth-generation people born, then in other words, there is already a generation of people who will suffer from underage illness in the current kingdom of Flevance. He didn't suspect that Cross was lying, because this kind of thing is easy to find out. Just find someone to check if the lead mine is poisonous, that's enough to explain everything. At this moment, Zephyr felt deep fear, and an inexplicable chill quickly invaded his whole body, making his hands and feet cold, and he almost couldn't stand still. How could it be? How could it be like this? It shouldn't be like this. Zephyr muttered to himself with a pale face. Suddenly, Zephyr Biba grabbed Cross by the shoulders, and asked with a ferocious expression, "Tell me, shoot lead disease, there is still a cure, right? There must be a way. Don't be like this, Teacher Zephyr." Cross sighed, and said slowly, "The kingdom of Flevance is very rich, and there is no shortage of highly skilled doctors. If there is a way, the Zephyr disease would have been solved long ago." Zephyr let go of his hand in a daze, staggered back a few steps, and leaned against a wooden support post. Advertisement. Cross also showed a look of unbearable, because he knew Zephyr's character. A former Marine admiral with the title of, "Don't Kill," couldn't bear to kill even the vicious pirates, so how could he bear to watch a country die for no reason? In particular, this country will be irreparably destroyed because of a disease that could have been avoided, such as Peled disease. Especially for the sake of making money, the royal families of the Flevance kingdom actually had the heart to watch the people die and remain indifferent. If they could announce the truth about the Peled mine earlier, the Flevance kingdom would not necessarily perish. The chief culprit who single-handedly sent the kingdom of Flevance to hell is not others, nor the world government, but the royal family of this country. Because from the perspective of the world government, since the royal family of Flevance kingdom doesn't care about its citizens, then we don't need to care about it either. Wrong. Suddenly, Zephyr's expression changed, and he said sternly, "Now announce the truth about the Percobine mine, let the Flevance kingdom stop excavating the Percobine mine, and call the best doctors in the world. It may not be impossible to save some people. What? Teacher Zephyr, you are taking it for granted." Cross shook his head, and said in a deep voice, "The profits of the Peled mine are so huge, it is impossible for the royal family of the Flevance kingdom to give up, and they may even be ready to give up. The country is ready. What's more, once a large-scale disease occurs in the Flevance kingdom, it will definitely arouse the fear of the surrounding countries, and it is very likely that they will mistakenly believe that pauper lead disease is an infectious disease rather than heavy metal poisoning. Unless the world government had issued a statement that the lead ore is poisonous, but the world government chose to conceal it before, and now it will not admit that the lead ore is poisonous." When Cross said this, Zephyr also understood the meaning. The island where the kingdom of Flevance is located is one of the largest islands in North Blue. It is an infectious disease, and they will unite to block the borders and refuse the people of the kingdom of Flevance to go to other countries for further treatment. By that time, the people in the kingdom of Flevance will certainly not sit still, and because of the Peled mine, the kingdom of Flevance does not lack weapons and ammunition, and the war will definitely break out. Exclamation mark. However, how could a mere kingdom of Flevance, which was plagued by disease, be the opponent of several countries, and its demise must be an irreversible ending? Advertisement Chapter 35 Cross's Plan. Advertisement. The kingdom of Flevance is just one of more than 100 countries under the world government, not to mention that even the royal family that ruled the kingdom of Flevance will give up this country, so the world government will naturally not give up hundreds of thousands of useless people. It takes a lot of trouble for people. Who? Zephyr held on to the wooden wall of the cabin, panting heavily. As soon as he thought that the Flevance kingdom was about to perish and hundreds of thousands of lives would disappear, he felt a strong sense of suffocation, which made him almost out of breath. "Cross, can't we do something?" Zephyr murmured. There was actually a hint of prayer in his tone, and he didn't know whether he was praying to Cross or the gods. As a righteous sailor, Zephyr really couldn't just sit back and watch a country perish and hundreds of thousands of people die. "Teacher Zephyr, you think so highly of me, what can I do?" Cross let out a wry smile, and said helplessly, "I don't want to set foot on the territory of the kingdom of Flevance because I'm afraid that I can't help but destroy this country. The royal family was killed." Suddenly, Cross paused with a strange expression, and after a while he slowly said, "Maybe, we can't save this country, but we can make the culprits get the punishment they deserve." Zephyr's expression changed slightly, he stared at Cross sharply, and said, "What do you mean?" "I have a plan, and I wonder if Teacher Zephyr would like to join." Cross met Zephyr's eyes without hesitation. "Tell me, Teacher Zephyr, come closer." Cross waved at Zephyr, and when Zephyr approached, he whispered in Zephyr's ear, "It's like this, Mr. Zephyr, as a high-level marine, came to escort the royal family of the kingdom of Flevance to the Holy Land Mariajoy, to attend the meeting. Soon there will be envoys from the royal palace to invite you to the dinner party. When the time comes we will." In the evening, a beige four-wheeled carriage, pulled by 6 white horses and escorted by dozens of soldiers, arrived at the port. On the deck of the warship, Cross and Zephyr looked at the gorgeous carriage that looked like a small house on the shore, and couldn't help but look at each other with disgust. "Your Excellency Zephyr, in the name of His Majesty the King, I invite you to the dinner." The royal envoy in a white suit stepped onto the warship, took out a beautiful white invitation card from his arms, and handed it to Zephyr respectfully. Zephyr reached out to take the invitation with a blank expression, touched the beautiful pattern on the invitation, and sighed softly, "This is the paint made of ammonite, it's so beautiful." Advertisement. The palace envoy raised his head proudly, and said with a proud expression, "Your Excellency Zephyr has a good eye, and amber is the best gift God has bestowed on our kingdom. Hee, I really envy you all, you can actually live in such a beautiful country." Cross chuckled and said meaningfully, "Return the best gift that God bestowed on your kingdom. This is probably the Pandora's box that God bestowed on your kingdom. Well, since it's an invitation from His Majesty the King, then I'll be disrespectful. Zephyr squeezed the white invitation in his hand, and said in a deep voice, Cross, come with me. It's an honor, Teacher Zephyr. Cross nodded. 2. This way please. The palace envoy bowed down respectfully and made a gesture of invitation. Afterwards, Zephyr and Cross were not polite, they walked straight off the warship, and got into the four-wheeled carriage on the port. The carriage is very spacious, and Zephyr, who is about 3 meters tall, does not feel crowded when he sits in it. There is even a fixed small round table in the middle. Drive. The coachman outside let out a soft drink, flicked his whip, and drove the 6 tall horses to pull the carriage forward, heading towards the palace. The horses' hooves stepped on the ground as white as snow, and the carriage was driving in the city of Flevance kingdom. Cross lifted the curtain of the window and looked out. In the evening, the kingdom of Flevance is still very beautiful. Spire buildings can be seen everywhere, and the walls are painted with paint made of ammonium lead, which has a kind of sparkling and crystal clear beauty. Suddenly, a child on the street attracted Cross' attention. The other party was wearing a furry winter hat with leopard madara points, a light yellow suit, a white shirt inside, a red tie, dark blue shorts and black shoes, holding a few thick books in both hands. He quickly ran into a large hospital. That kid is Trafalgar Law. Cross narrowed his eyes and quickly recognized the other party's identity. Advertisement. Seeking flowers. 0. If Cross admits his mistakes and remembers correctly, that child should be one of the future, extremely evil generations, and also the only survivor after the destruction of Whitetown, Flevance. Suddenly, Cross remembered his plan. If it succeeds, he wonders whether it will change the ending of Whitetown, Flevance, or whether it will change the fate of Trafalgar Law. You must know that Trafalgar Law's childhood fate was extremely tragic. When Whitetown, Flevance was destroyed, he saw his parents were shot to death, and the hospital where his sister was located was set on fire. He told his nuns and companions that he would be redeemed. He was also shot and killed by the army, and the whole country was destroyed in a sea of flames. Later, he hid in a pile of corpses and escaped across the border. Cross, what's the matter? Just about to close his eyes and meditate, Zephyr noticed that Cross's breathing was getting heavier, and couldn't help but care. It's okay, I just thought about the next thing. Cross looked away, shook his head at Zephyr, and signaled that he was fine. Zephyr looked at Cross with a serious expression, and said in a deep voice, Don't be nervous, you can give up at any time, and I can do it alone. Cross snorted unhappily, and said, Don't underestimate me, Mr. Zephyr, I proposed the plan. After an unknown amount of time, the carriage stopped. The next moment, the voice of the palace envoy came from outside the carriage. Your Excellency Zephyr, the palace is here. Zephyr, who was resting with his eyes closed, suddenly opened his eyes, and a horrified killing intent flashed through his eyes. Cross pressed Zephyr's arm and said softly, Teacher, hold your breath. Call. Zephyr exhaled a long breath, got up and got out of the carriage. Cross followed closely behind, and as soon as he got out of the carriage, he saw the huge castle in front of him. The beige-pointed castle, similar to the Romanesque architectural style, looks solemn and majestic, yet low-key and luxurious, and there are neatly dressed guards guarding the gate, revealing a noble temperament. Your Excellency Zephyr, please follow me. The palace envoy stepped forward to lead the way, again making a gesture of invitation. Advertisement Chapter 36 Palace Banquet. Advertisement. The first half of the Grand Line. Marineford Island Naval Headquarters 1. It's late at night, and Sora is still processing various documents in the office, especially recently. The date of the World Summit is approaching. Pirates who want to kidnap the kings of various countries are still frequent, although none of the pirate groups have succeeded, but it still put him under a lot of pressure. Similarly, because Marine shrinks its forces, suspends all military operations, and fully protects World Summit, pirates all over the world are extremely active, and even the monsters in the second half of the Grand Line are crazy to move. For a time several confrontations broke out. But the most important thing is the Roberts Legion, because the intelligence department of the Marine and the CP organization of the world government have not yet found the specific location of the Roberts Legion. Boom boom boom. Suddenly, there was a hasty knock on the door, and then the door was pushed open. Jonathan rushed in with, 050, anxiously. Kong frowned, he didn't understand that it was so late, and Jonathan ran over in such a hurry. Could something serious happen? Kong felt something was wrong, and quickly asked, did something happen? Marshal Kong, something serious happened. Panting heavily, Jonathan exclaimed in surprise, Flevance Kingdom, something serious happened to Flevance Kingdom. What happened? I remember that today, Zephyr's warship has arrived in Flevance Kingdom. Kong was startled, subconsciously stood up and asked. It's Teacher Zephyr. He and Amphitheater Cross captured the palace of the Kingdom of Flevance and killed many members of the royal family. Jonathan said with an ugly expression, surprised and angry. It is said that it is because of Frey the royal family of Vance Kingdom poisoned Teacher Zephyr at today's dinner, but Zephyr saw through it, so they did it in a rage. How is this possible? An expression of disbelief appeared on Kong's face, and he roared angrily. The chief instructor of Marine attacked the royal palace of the country that joined the world government. The royal family of the country that joined the world government attempted to poison the top Marines. What the hell is going on? A few hours ago. North Blue Flevance Kingdom. Advertisement. Led by the palace envoys, Zephyr and Cross came to the resplendent palace hall, surrounded by many handsome attendants and beautiful maids, as well as burly guards standing guard. Meet His Majesty the King. Zephyr and Cross bowed slightly and said in a deep voice. On the throne in front of him, an obese old man wearing a gold crown and white clothes embroidered with gold and silver patterns stood up, raised his hand with a smile, and said, "You are welcome. Your Mightiness." It turns out that he is the 13th generation king of Flevance Kingdom, Arl Fuku. And beside King Jarl the 13th, there is still a beautiful woman who still has charm, wearing a white corset dress with green stripes, with a graceful temperament. It is the current Queen Bettina's. Also under the throne, there are all the princes, princesses, ministers and generals of the Flevance Kingdom. It can be said that all the high-level officials of the Flevance Kingdom gather here. This is my student, the best student in the Marine School, and the Earl of the North Blue Tobias Kingdom, Amphitrite Cross. Then, Zephyr introduced the identity of Cross. Hearing this, Jarl Xii's eyes lit up, and he said with a smile, "I didn't expect that Earl Cross is also from North Blue. What a pleasure to meet you. Your Majesty, this is the first time I have come to the Kingdom of Flevance. Everything here surprised me, because it is so beautiful. Your Majesty is really good at governing the country." Cross didn't feel any tension. Rainbow fart, he opened his mouth and came, and Jarl 13 smiled happily when he heard it. "Count Cross is really flattering you. Please sit down and taste the delicacies of our Kingdom of Flevance." King Jarl the 13th said happily from ear to ear. "Thank you, Your Majesty the King." Zephyr and Cross thanked very politely. As the saying goes, reach out and never hit a smiling face. Although Zephyr and Cross wished to blow each other's heads off, due to their own identities, they couldn't act rashly for no reason. Advertisement. Afterwards, Zephyr and Cross sat down on the right side. Beside them were several ministers and generals of the Kingdom of Flevance, and on the opposite side were several children born to King Arl the 13th and Queen Bettina's princes and princesses, and members of royal families with blood ties. Seeing the guests arrived, Jarl 13 clapped his hands and said with a smile, "Let's serve." Immediately, the attendants and maids filed in, each holding a silver tray with white shiny dishes on it, containing all kinds of fragrant delicacies. North blue fattail fish, flame-cut chicken, sweet broth, cheese snails, sweet shrimp. Various delicacies are placed on the table in front of everyone. Ding ding ding. After all the dishes were served, King Ariel the 13th picked up a spoon and tapped it on the crystal cup. After attracting everyone's attention, he said with a smile, "Welcome Your Excellency Zephyr and Earl Cross, let's toast together." After finishing speaking, King Jarl 13 raised the crystal cup in front of him as a signal, and everyone also showed great face, holding up their wine glasses one after another, and then drank together. Good wine. After taking a sip of the bright red wine in the crystal glass, Cross couldn't help but praised. "The aroma of grapes is very strong, perfectly blending with the aroma of oak. If I'm not mistaken, this is Tutar's wine bar." Quote. "Ha ha ha, I didn't expect Earl Cross to be so good at researching red wine at such a young age." Ariel 13 laughed and said proudly, "Yes, this is what I bought at an auction 10 years ago. There are 36 bottles of Tutar 5, which are treasures in my wine cellar." Zephyr smacked his mouth and said, "I didn't expect it to be a precious red wine of the collection level, but I prefer white wine, and sherry wine is the best. It's a waste to drink it for me. To entertain the most distinguished guests, it is natural to take the best wine, but I didn't expect His Excellency Zephyr to like sherry wine. It is really rude. Next time I will definitely buy the best sherry wine to entertain His Excellency Zephyr. This time please forgive me." Jarl 13 said slightly apologetically. "There is no need to apologize, Your Majesty, but I just want to ask, are these tableware all amber lead tableware? Did 3.1 add the sweet seasoning made by amber lead?" Zephyr asked in a deep voice. Ariel 13 was a little confused, so he said strangely, "Of course, this is the best emerald tableware in the Kingdom of Flevance, and it is specially used for entertaining distinguished guests. He is so sweet." "Oh, Teacher Zephyr and I are really flattered." Cross took the words, and said with deep meaning, "But I see that the tableware of His Majesty the King and Queen and princes and princesses are silver tableware. Could it be that Yale doesn't the royal family like the tableware of amber? It's not even like the sweet seasoning made by amber." Arl 13 was stunned for a moment, but he didn't expect the other party to notice that he was using silver tableware instead of ammonite tableware, and even guessed that the sweet seasoning made by amberite was not added to the meal. Advertisement Chapter 37 Exposing the Truth. Advertisement. This is because. It is because our Ariel royal family is allergic to purple lead and cannot come into contact with amber lead products. Ariel 13th explained with some stuttering. Their Ariel royal family explained to the outside world that they are allergic to pink lead, so they would entertain outsiders with the best amber lead products, and use silver products for themselves. It's just that their Jarl royal family has a noble status, and few people would ask questions bluntly, so that Jarl 13 almost didn't react. "Oh, that's how it is." Cross made an expression of enlightenment, and said softly, "I thought His Majesty the King knew that perbant is poisonous, so he deliberately didn't use ammonium products." Suddenly, Ariel 13 trembled all over, the fat on his face was trembling, he looked at Cross in horror, even the wine glass in his hand was knocked to the ground, and the expensive red wine was splashed on the equally expensive velvet carpet. Even the other members of the royal family looked at Cross in astonishment. Earl Cross really knows how to joke, how could perbone be poisonous? 14 Jarl 13th swallowed, trying to pretend to be calm, but there was still a hint of tremor in his tone. Cross's face sank like water, he stood up abruptly, and said in a cold voice, "Wouldn't the royal family of Ariel know whether the ammonite mine is poisonous?" Poison Marine Chief Instructor. Hearing this, Jarl 13th showed panic, waved his hands again and again, and shouted, "No." Bang. Cross angrily lifted the table in front of him, and all kinds of tableware, Food and red wine on it spilled on the smooth white tiles. You royal family of Ariel concealed the news that the lead mine was poisonous, and even ignored the health of the people in your own country in order to make money. It is really sinister. Now you are still using lead products to poison the marine executives. It is simply a shame. Cross standing in the center of the palace hall with an angry expression, he cursed righteously. If you want to punish the real culprit, you must first stand at the top of morality, grasp the mistakes of the other party and condemn them, so as not to leave tongues and excuses for others. No, really not. Po lead mine is not poisonous. Jarl 13 shouted nervously. Since His Majesty the King is unwilling to admit it, how about I ask Mr. Zephyr to call the world government to ask? Cross saw that the other party refused to admit it, and his anger grew even stronger. Advertisement. As soon as Ariel 13 heard that Cross mentioned the world government, he was speechless on the spot. He opened his mouth for a long time, but he didn't say a word. Others don't know the truth, how could the world government not know the truth? Especially in the face of Zephyr's inquiry, the world government dared not deny it, because Marine only needs to test open black lens bracket perb lead close black lens bracket afterwards to understand. At that time, the entire Marine will be furious, and this is a scene that the world government will not want to see. And after the incident, the world government will definitely be fine, but the kingdom of Flevance and the royal family of Jarl will definitely suffer revenge from Marine. For a moment, Jarl 13 collapsed on the throne with a face full of fear, trembling all over, and whispered weakly, I really don't want to poison your excellency Zephyr, just use 1 or 2 lead products will not cause lead disease. The queens, princes and princesses present also looked at Cross in horror. Poisoning the top Marine. What a huge crime. This is a huge crime committed by the king of a country, and he can't be safe. Hiss. At this time, there was a sound of gasping for air. In the resplendent palace hall, the ministers and generals of the kingdom of Flevance, as well as the attendants, maids and guards present, all looked in horror at King Jarl XIII on the throne. No wonder the Jarl royal family never used any ammonium lead products, even the paint of the palace and castle did not use ammonium lead paint, it turns out amber lead is really poisonous. Moreover, the PB lead disease is actually caused by the PB lead mine. It turned out that in order to prevent the truth of the poisonous lead mine from being leaked, the Jarl royal family even the ministers and generals of the kingdom, as well as the attendants, maids and guards in the palace never revealed half of it. It is conceivable that, except for the Ariel royal family who are allergic to lead, how many people in the entire Flevance kingdom have not used lead products, and how many people have not gone to lead mines. At this time, Zephyr stood up with a gloomy expression, eyes filled with almost substantive anger, and sternly said to King Jarl XIII, you don't even care about the lives of your own citizens just to make money, you don't deserve to be a king at all. Quote. Advertisement. Zephyr was furious, and Jarl XIII was terrified, and quickly shouted, Guards! Guards! Come and escort me. However, among the outsiders present, all the ministers, generals and guards of the kingdom, none of them stepped forward and stared at King Flevance with murderous eyes. Because of all the people present, except for Zephyr and Cross who are outsiders, and the Jarl royal family who are allergic to lead, there is no family member who died painfully due to lead disease, and this the culprit of everything is actually the royal family who is the ruler of this country. So, how could they protect this culprit? Seeing that no one responded to his cry, Jarl XIII was startled and angry, and angrily cursed, you bastards! Are you trying to rebel? You bastards! You bastards! You bastards! I'll kill you all! Hang in the port! The next moment, the almost crazy Jarl XIII suddenly stood up, pointed at Zephyr and Cross and roared, you two hateful bastards, what about Marine? As long as you guys who know the truth are all killed, at that time, as long as you two intend to assassinate, the world government and Marine will not be able to hold me accountable for you two dead people. Dark Guard. With the roar of King Jarl XIII, a secret door opened on the wall behind the throne, and dozens of soldiers in full armor rushed out, protecting King Jarl XIII and the royal family of Jarl. A dead man. Cross squinted his eyes, stared at the dozens of soldiers in front of him, and said softly, I almost laughed out loud, don't you underestimate the strength of Marine's highest combat power. Because of the arrival of the guards, Jarl XIII became confident again, Shirin stood up, and said contemptuously, it's just a retired old guy, plus you and a kid, I have 50 passers-by here. Well-trained secret guards are enough to kill all of you. Rory, you can't stop talking. In the name of justice, I declare you dead. GFA impatiently pronounced the sentence on King Jarl XIII. As soon as the voice fell, Zephyr stepped down, leaving a footprint full of cracks on the smooth white tiles, and the whole person rushed out like a beast, setting off a biting wind. Boom. In an instant, Zephyr was like a wolf in a herd of sheep, relying on the high-speed collision of his body, he overturned more than a dozen dead soldiers and disrupted the opponent's formation. A mere 50 soldiers, no one is a single enemy of Zephyr. Advertisement Chapter 38 Solve the culprit. Advertisement. Stop him. Block him for me. Block him for me. The complacency on Jarl XIII's face didn't last for half a minute before it turned into an expression of extreme fear again, roaring hysterically. As a former Marine admiral, Zephyr % still had his hands intact, and his strength hadn't dropped too much at all. It would be too far-fetched for mere 50 dead men to block him. I only saw Zephyr punching one by one, even armament Haki was useless, easily smashed the iron armor on these soldiers, and knocked the soldiers to the ground together. In fact, from Cross's point of view, it can be seen that the strength of the 50 soldiers trained by the Jarl royal family is not bad, not inferior to the elite sailors in Marine. However, these people had never participated in real combat at all. As soon as they fought, they were suppressed by Zephyr's berserk momentum, and they couldn't even display half of their strength at the 10th level. But it's not surprising that the Flevance kingdom is too peaceful, and it can produce weapons and ammunition by itself. There is also a marine branch nearby. World government transport ships also come to the Flevance kingdom from time to participate in the transportation of amber products. Under such circumstances, how could there be blind pirates who would dare to come over? Then these hidden guards naturally have no place to conduct actual combat training. Of course, even if the 50 dead soldiers exerted 100% of their strength, there was no possibility of blocking Zephyr. Otherwise, Marine Admiral would not be known as the strongest force in the world government and naval headquarters. Boom! Suddenly, a violent air wave exploded, knocking all the surrounding soldiers to the ground. In this way, King Jarl XIII and the members of the royal family were stunned, watching Zephyr knock down 50 strictly trained secret guards to the ground with overwhelming force, like autumn wind sweeping fallen leaves. Especially those hidden guards with muskets didn't even have time to fire a single shot. Don't come here, don't come here. Ariel 13 watched Zephyr approaching slowly, yelled in horror, and even pushed the Queen Bettina beside him out. Damn it, how dare you do this? At this time, a middle-aged man from the Jarl royal family stood up, with an angry expression, his body suddenly swelled up, his head quickly turned into a dog's head, and a thick golden coat grew on his body. Huh, there is actually a demon fruit power. Cross looked at the other party with more interest, and guessed. This kind of appearance seems to be the dog fruit golden retriever shape. If he remembers correctly, the other party should be called Jarl Baglin, the younger brother of King Jarl XIII, and the general of the royal guards of Flevance kingdom. Bagram, save me. Jarl XIII saw his younger brother and hurriedly called for help. Marine, don't go too far. Baglin shouted angrily, and in human beast form, he kicked over the table in front of him, and rushed towards the obscenity. Advertisement. Kanglang. In the next second, the bright knife light suddenly bloomed, and almost everyone present couldn't help squinting their eyes. Puff. The soft sound of piercing flesh rang in their ears, and when everyone regained their sight, Cross appeared behind Baglin at some point, holding a long knife that was unsheathed at some point in his hand. Baglin lowered his head in disbelief, and saw a long and narrow wound on his chest, extending from his left shoulder to his right abdomen. Kneel on the ground. Boom. Almost at the same time, behind Baglin and in front of Cross, the thick wall burst open, and everyone could see through this huge crack that more than a dozen walls of the palace and castle on this side were all cut open. You can even see the moon hanging high in the sky outside. It turned out that Cross, knife cut half of the entire castle wall open, otherwise it would be impossible to see the scenery outside the castle. Hiss. There was another gasp. Almost everyone in the palace hall was stunned and looked at Cross in horror. No one thought that this young sea soldier, who didn't even look like an adult, would possess such terrifying strength. With a volley, he cut through more than a dozen thick walls. I'm afraid it's not a monster. Immediately, several princes and princesses looked at Cross, who was very close to them, and were so frightened that they collapsed on the ground. Some timid ones even rolled their eyes and passed out on the spot. Trying to attack Marine is a heinous crime and should be destroyed in the name of justice. Cross turned around, twisted his wrist, and flicked the blood off Jingshu's knife, then slowly retracted the knife like a sheath, and said in a solemn voice with righteous words. You can't kill me. Ariel 13 was terrified, and quickly shouted, the king of Flevance kingdom. One of the 50 kings participating in this world summit, you can't kill me. I have cooperated with the world government, and the world government also knows the truth about Po-Lead. Let me go. I have money, a lot of money. I'll give you as much as you want. 100 million berries, 300 million berries, 500 million berries, a billion berries. Advertisement. Unfortunately, no matter how Arl 13 yelled for mercy, the extremely angry Zephyr remained indifferent, and took out a revolver from his arms on the spot to point Arl 13. Bang, 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 bang. Zephyr pulled the trigger and fired 6 shots, emptying the revolver of lead. Watching Jarl 13 sitting paralyzed on the throne, he was shot 6 times in the chest, bleeding from his mouth and nose on the spot, and lost his breath. UB asterisk 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 D, it's cheap for you. Zephyr cursed angrily, then turned to look at the other members of the royal family of Arl. Zephyr, who is admirals, don't kill, bought this one time to kill. At this time, Cross slowly walked up to the high platform where the throne was, and said in a deep voice, Teacher Zephyr, the others hers should be dealt with by the people of Flevance kingdom. The people of the kingdom of Flevance have the right to know the truth about open black lens bracket per bone close black lens bracket. They have been suffering from the disease of perovskite for hundreds of years. Let the people of the kingdom of Flevance take the blame. After speaking, Cross turned his head and looked at the ministers, generals and guards present. Your Excellency Zephyr, Earl of Cross, thank you for exposing the truth of Li Jiao Poken for us, and please hand over the Jarl family to us, and the people of Flevance kingdom will judge him personally. They. Several ministers and generals of the kingdom walked forward, half kneeling on the ground, praying for Zephyr and Cross. Call. Zephyr let out a deep breath, and said in a muffled voice, I'll leave this group of damned fellows to you. Thank you Lord Zephyr. Thank you Earl Cross. All the non-aerial royals who were present were grateful, and quickly thanked in unison. Next, things are very simple. Knowing the truth of Paben, the ministers, generals and guards in the palace and castle directly rebelled and captured all members of the Jarl royal family. The Ariel royal family lost all the dead soldiers, and the only demon fruit power was also killed by Cross. Even Ariel 13 was shot and killed by Zephyr, and the remaining royal family members were powerless to resist and could not even escape. Out of the palace castle. Advertisement Chapter 39 After the event. Advertisement. Zephyr, what the hell are you doing? In the captain's room of the warship, the phone bug on the table showed an angry look and roared loudly. Zephyr looked at the phone bug in front of him blankly, and said bluntly, I killed the king of Frevance's kingdom, Ariel 13. I know. The air far away in naval headquarters was terrified, and he yelled at the phone bug, reason. Give me a reason. Give world government a reason. The 13th king of Ariel knew that perbine was poisonous and would cause PBB's disease, so he even gave me tableware made of PBBB, and added sweet condiments made of PBBB in food for me to eat. I killed. Does he, in the name of justice, have a problem? Zephyr replied coldly. Nani. Kong was taken aback, hesitantly said, you said, perbine is poisonous, and the PBB disease is caused by PBB mine. That's right, the lead mine underground in the kingdom of Flevance is poisonous, but the royal family of Ariel concealed the news in order to make money from the lead products. Zephyr couldn't help but angrily said, the world government once sent people to Levin's kingdom inspected and knew that the lead ore is poisonous, but also concealed the poisonous news of per lead in order to make money. You have to know that most of the people in the entire Flevance kingdom have been infected with the pollen disease. There is no cure for this disease. The skin and hair of the infected person will become whiter and whiter, and finally they will die of great pain. The most important thing is that the lead poison will accumulate in the body of the infected person, and then it will continue. Inherited to the offspring, resulting in shortened lifespan of the offspring of the infected person, will eventually make the infected person extinct. As far as I know, teenage children in the kingdom of Flevance have already died of the disease. That is to say, once the lead disease occurs on a large scale, the entire kingdom of Flevance will be destroyed in one fell swoop. Wait, I'm a little messed up. Let me smooth it out. Kong felt dizzy, shook his head, and organized his thoughts. After a while, Kong asked in a deep voice, you said that the ammonite disease was caused by contact with ammonium mine, but the royal family of Ariel and the world government knew that amberite was poisonous, but they concealed it in order to make money from amberite products. I heard the poisonous news about open black lens bracket per lead close black lens bracket, but where did you get the news from? Cross told me. Zephyr didn't hold back. Cross? Sora asked in surprise, you said it was amphitheater Cross. That's right, I didn't quite believe it at first, but King Jarl XIII admitted it himself, in front of many ministers, generals and guards of the Flevance kingdom. Zephyr Biak sighed, without restraint said angrily again. +_. Advertisement. Kong couldn't help swearing, and didn't continue to ask why Cross knew the news that the lead mine was poisonous. Because, since Jarl XIII personally admitted that the lead ore is poisonous, it doesn't matter where Cross got the news from. I killed King Jarl XIII, and Cross killed Baglin, the younger brother of King Jarl XIII. The rest of the royal family was captured by the guards led by the ministers and generals who knew the truth, and they were going to fight in the daytime tomorrow. The trial will be held in front of all the people of Flevance kingdom. Zephyr said in a deep voice. Deserved it. Kong cursed angrily, and then got a headache again. One of the 50 kings who participated in the World Summit was killed by %. Should we temporarily find another king to participate? Moreover, you were on an escort mission, and you killed the escort target in the end. It would be 2F***** head up. But Pyongkong can't blame Zephyr, who made Ariel 13 so bold that he used poisonous amber lead products to entertain the marine executives, and he deserved to be killed by %. Killing a king is a felony. However, murdering a marine executive is also a felony. Thinking about it, Sora couldn't help cursing again. Damn the royal family of Ariel. Damn world government. Most of the people in the entire Flevance kingdom are suffering from the incurable and incurable disease of lead disease, and some even include underage children. If no solution can be found, it means that the country has entered the countdown to destruction. At this time, Cross came to Zephyr's side and said, Marshal Kong, the Ariel royal family is finished, and what needs to be dealt with now is the accountability of the world government and the kingdom of Flevance. After all, after the death of a king of a member country, the world government needs to give an explanation to the outside world anyway. Because the marine escorting the world summit to kill the king of a member country is really difficult to deal with. If it is not done well, it will cause a storm, causing turmoil in the major member countries under the world government and affecting the foundation of the world government. Do you have any good suggestions? Kong asked in a deep voice. Let the world government announce the truth about this matter, and also announce the truth about the poisonous lead mine. Cross said. Advertisement. This is impossible. After all, the world government sent people to inspect the lead mine. If they admit that the lead mine is poisonous now, wouldn't it mean that the world government deceived the world back then, which would cause great damage to the prestige of the world government? Kong shook his head, not thinking that the world government would announce the truth about the poisonous lead mine. This point is easy to solve. Let's say that the Ariel royal family used money to buy the inspector of the world government, or the Ariel royal family secretly replaced the inspection report of the lead mine. You have deceived the world government. Cross said with a smile. In short, all the faults should be blamed on the Jarl royal family, and we only need to wipe out the Jarl royal family. Even if the world has doubts, they can only accept the world government's decision. Explain, isn't it Kong Shuai? Sora remained silent, thinking about the suggestion Cross gave. It has to be said that it is indeed the only solution to push all the faults to the Jarl royal family. Otherwise, Zephyr and Cross cannot be thrown into the deep-sea prison, then the first one will not agree, and neither will the entire marine. Because no matter what you say, amber lead is poisonous, and the Ariel royal family used poisonous ammonium lead products to entertain marine high-level officials, which constituted the crime of murdering marine high-level officials. This is an undeniable fact. What's more, that is, Zephyr has retired. If Zephyr is still admiral, it is not an exaggeration to directly launch a buster call to the Flevance kingdom based on what King Arl XIII did. After a while, Kong rubbed his temples wearily, and said slowly, "Your suggestion is very good, I will negotiate with the world government on this matter." Trouble Marshal Kong. Cross smiled and thanked him softly. Kong let out a foul breath, and said helplessly, "You guys will be on standby in Flevance kingdom, waiting for the next instruction." Clear. Zephyr replied gravely. Click. The next second, Sora hung up the phone, and the phone bug closed his eyes and fell into a deep sleep. Advertisement Chapter 40. Advertisement. In the morning of the next day, Kong hurriedly boarded the warship and rushed to the Holy Land, Mariajoy at the top of the Red Line. In the spacious between power, 5 old men sat on the sofa and received Marine Marshal Kong. One was wearing a black suit, with white curly hair, a fluffy white beard, a flat hat, and a scar on the left side of his face. One was wearing a dark blue suit, with long straight white hair and a long beard, like a goatee. One was wearing a dark red suit, no tie, blonde hair, blonde beard, and a scar on his chest. One was wearing a dark green suit, was bald, had a figure-8 beard, and had a Madara birthmark on his forehead. One is wearing a white Taoist robe, bald, and wearing glasses. He is the only one among the 5 who does not wear a suit and grows a beard. He is holding a sword with a strange aura in his arms. These 5 people are the highest power holders of the world government, 5 elders. Regarding the matter of the Flevance kingdom, I think the 5 lords already know about it. I believe the 5 lords are also very clear about the poisonous lead mine. Do you agree with my proposal? In the middle of the room, the resolute-looking, asked. Just now, Sora has told 5 elders everything he knows, and expressed Marine's position. The 5 elders looked at each other, and 5 elders, who had a figure-8 beard, said with a gloomy face, the world government really didn't know about the poisonous lead mine. It seems that the Ariel royal family sent people to buy the inspectors sent by the world government to the kingdom of Flevance, or replace the inspection report of the lead world government as blinded. Hearing the other party's words, Sora showed a smile on his face, knowing that the 5 elders had made a firm decision. So Kong nodded, and said in a deep voice, "Then, please send someone to Flevance kingdom to clean up the mess, and order someone to make an announcement. Although it's during the World Summit, murdering a high-level marine is also a felony, and even the king of a member country cannot forgive it." 5 elders with a figure-splayed beard said in a concentrated voice, "Let the next thing be left to the world government. Since the world government has taken over, I will hand it over to the 5 lords, and I will take my leave." Seeing that the affairs of the Flevance kingdom had been dealt with, Sora bid farewell. But just as Kong turned to leave, 5 elders with white curly hair suddenly said, "Song, it is that World Summit period, the killing of the king of the allied country has really bad influence, I hope there will be no next one." Advertisement. The murder of Marine's top management is also too bad, and I don't want the same thing to happen. After finishing speaking, he left open black lens bracket between power close black lens bracket without looking back. 5 elders watched Sora leaving without a word, and between power fell silent for a while. After a while, 5 elders with a figure-splayed beard scolded angrily, "Damn it, what happened to that brat named Amphitheater Cross? Where did he learn about the poisonousness of lead mine? It doesn't matter where that kid learned about the poisonous lead ore. We can't expect to keep it a secret for another 100 years. After all, we can know the toxicity of the metals contained in the lead ore as long as we find someone to test it. What's more, the lead disease is about to break out on a large scale, and this incident can just take the opportunity to take the world government out of it." The blonde 5 elders said in a deep voice. "The Jarl royal family must all die, and they cannot be allowed to expose the truth of the matter." Kimono 5 elders snapped. However, many ministers, generals and guards of the kingdom of Flevance know the whole truth. The white curly hair hesitated. "It doesn't matter, the pocket disease is enough for the kingdom of Flevance to drink a pot, and they have no chance to spread the truth." Goatee 5 elders said indifferently. "The newspapers only said that the lead mine can cause the lead disease, do not give a detailed explanation, and then sent people to the neighboring countries of the Flevance kingdom to spread rumors, saying that the lead disease is an infectious disease, instigating those countries seal the borders and let the people of Flevance kingdom fend for themselves at home." 5 elders in kimono said fiercely, "Okay, I'll leave this matter to the CP organization." The blonde 5 elders nodded in agreement. Get a newspaper. 2 days later, the huge warship was sailing through the waves. Cross stood on the deck, and said to a news bird wearing a hat and a red backpack around his neck, like an albatross. This is a unique bird in the pirate world, which specializes in flying on the vast sea and selling newspapers to ships sailing on the sea. Like a human being, the news bird took out the latest newspaper from the red backpack hanging around its neck with its wings and handed it to Cross. Cross took the newspaper and handed it a 50 Bailey note as well. News bird took the money and flew away quickly, asking for flowers. Advertisement. Afterwards, Cross spread out the newspaper, and saw that the front panel of the newspaper had something about Flevance kingdom. Heinous crime. The Jarl royal family deceived the world government and murdered the top marines. The newspapers wrote in detail how the Ariel royal family deceived the world government, concealed things about the poisonous lead mine, and how to murder Blackarm Zephyr, the former admiral of the marine and the current chief instructor, and the people of the kingdom of Flevance, the public judge, the royal family of Ariel. In short, the world government has no knowledge of the poisonous matter of the lead mine, and everything is the fault of the Jarl royal family. Oh, the newspapers have published it. Smoker bit his cigar, walked leisurely to Cross, and took a few curious glances. What? Has anything about the kingdom of Flevance been reported? Zero. Show me quickly. I also read what the newspaper said. Hearing this, other people on the deck rushed over one after another, so frightened that Cross quickly threw the newspaper to Smoker, letting him have a taste of a man on top of a man. Hina stood aside, watching Smoker surrounded by a group of people, shook her head helplessly, and said to the escaped Cross, "We just went to have a drink, and you and Mr. Zephyr actually killed a." Hina is really surprised about the matter of the king of the country, especially Mr. Zephyr shot and killed King Arl XIII with his own hands. For the sake of making money, ignoring the lives of the people of the entire country, Zephyr is so angry that killing people is normal. Cross shook his head, looking at the closed door of the captain's cabin. Hina never imagined that there would be such a cruel king in the world, who would give up the whole country just to make money. Hina also had a resentful expression on her pretty face, and said angrily, "Besides, they use silver." Hina is very angry. Actually, when I told Mr. Zephyr the truth about the poisonous lead, Mr. Zephyr still didn't believe it. When I said I would take the opportunity to test the 13th king of Ariel, Mr. Zephyr also said that it is impossible for the royal family of Ariel to use poisonous lead amber lead products to entertain marine executives. Speaking of this, Cross shook his head helplessly, and continued, "But I didn't expect that they were really so stupid and sent the handle to us. I can only say, self-inflicted evil, do not live." Advertisement Chapter 41 Germa 66. Advertisement. "So, you admit that you proposed the whole plan?" Hina said in surprise. Cross glanced at Hina, nodded and admitted, "That's right, I already knew about the poisonousness of lead ore, but the plan came to mind that day." In fact, Cross's plan is very simple. As long as the royal family of Ariel entertains marine with ammonium products, Zephyr and Cross can use the excuse of murdering the marine executives as an excuse to take the opportunity to make matters worse. The royal family was overthrown because he thought that purple lead was a special product of the kingdom of Flevance, and when entertaining distinguished guests, even if the royal family of Jarl did not mention it, those foreign and unaware VIPs would definitely ask for high-quality amber lead products. Therefore, Ross's plan has a lot of shortcomings. If the royal family of Jarl did not use ammonium lead products to entertain Zephyr and Cross, then the plan would not succeed. Royal family. After all, Cross and Zephyr are marines, not unscrupulous pirates, so everything they do must be within the rules, otherwise they will kill the kings of the allied countries without authorization, or during the World Summit Cross will definitely be reduced to being banned. The end of the world government and marine wanted. Kindness is kindness. Cross is not going to directly take advantage of his great future in marine for the sake of the Jarl royal family. Call. At this time, Hina's pretty face showed some hesitation. She took out a lady's cigarette from her pocket, lit it, took a deep breath, exhaled the slightly fragrant white smoke, and then asked softly, "I was drinking in a pub that day. At that time, I saw a man suffering from the disease. Hina wants to know, is there really no cure for the disease? At least, no cure has been found yet, and no medicine for treatment has been developed." Cross shook his head and said helplessly, "Perhaps there is some kind of devil fruit that can heal the disease, but it's so difficult for Dahai Biaoming to find a devil fruit with medical ability." Hina's pretty face was gloomy, and she couldn't help sighing. Even if it's a devil fruit with the ability to heal, but how much physical strength is needed by the person with the ability to heal hundreds of thousands of people in Flevance kingdom? Quote. Hearing this, Cross also fell silent, having nothing to say. As far as Cross knows, both Paramesha op fruit and Paramesha healing fruit can be used to cure op fruit. However, op fruit will not appear until a few years later. Advertisement. Moreover, the use of op fruit consumes a lot of stamina. If an ability user wants to save hundreds of thousands of people in the Flevance kingdom, even if it needs a monster at the level of Bigmom, Lot Linlin, it is possible to do so. As for the healing fruit, it will appear in the second half of the Grand Line. In the future, it will be eaten by Princess Mancherly of the Dondada Kingdom of the Small People, and the ability to heal the fruit is also very energy consuming, and excessive use of the ability will also reduce lifespan. So there is no way for him to let the opponent run from the second half of the Grand Line to North Blue, sacrificing his life to save hundreds of thousands of irrelevant humans. Even taking a step back, someone ate devil fruit similar to op fruit or healing fruit and came to Flevance kingdom to cure the people's lead disease, it would take a long time to cure the disease. Hundreds of thousands of people were cured. But the most important thing is that the kingdom of Flevance is approaching the outbreak of the lead disease, and there is simply no time to wait. Unless there is a monster like open black lens bracket Bigmom close black lens bracket Charlotte Linlin who ate the healing devil fruit, and then came to Flevance kingdom, working tirelessly to heal hundreds of thousands of people. Well, this possibility the probability is not as high as the probability that a famous doctor will develop a method to treat lead disease. Cross shook his head, shaking off the unrealistic thoughts in his mind. He is not a god, nor a saint. As an ordinary person with a conscience and a sense of justice, he has done his best. Although there are regrets and unwillingness, they also have a clear conscience. I found a castle floating on the sea right in front of me. No. It's a big snail carrying a castle on its back. Suddenly, the surprised voice of the watchman came from the radio. There is still the sail, the 66 sign, we have found Germa 66. Hearing what the lookout said, except for Cross, everyone else was very strange. There was a castle, a giant snail, and the sail deck. Everyone on the deck scattered, letting go of Smoker who was squeezed in the middle, and swarmed headed for the bow deck. Sailing is actually a very boring thing, so once something interesting happens, everyone will flock to watch. Sure enough, right in front of the warship, a giant snail-like Sea Kings was parked on the sea, carrying a large stone castle on its back, and a huge black sail with white that 66 logo. That's right, this strange ship is a powerful military organization from North Blue, and it is also the only maritime country in the world that has no fixed land, and it is also a country of science for generations, the Kingdom of Germa. Advertisement. As for Germa 66, it is the army of the Kingdom of Germa, aliases, War Expert Evil Army, it is a scientific combat force, active as a mercenary all over the world, able to cross the red line, has a powerful and efficient combat strength. Usually, Germa 66 is operated by dozens of ships separately, and when they are combined together, they form the kingdom. In North Blue, Germa 66 is also a well-known existence in the world, and even has a great reputation all over the world, because in the comic strips of the World Economic newspaper, Germa appeared as an evil organization, always with the marine hero who walks on the sea, Sora, fights, and even Cross saw the comic strips of Germa 66 and Sola when he was a child. But precisely because of this, Germa 66 once confuses the world, mistaking it for a fictitious organization. Crunch. Suddenly, the door of the captain's cabin was opened. Zephyr walked out with a blank expression. Mr. Zephyr, we found the warship of Germa 66, but we don't know if the escort target is on it. Cross said in a deep voice when he saw Zephyr. Zephyr looked forward. 2.4 stared at the warship of Germa 66, and slowly said, the Kingdom of Germa encountered a severe storm a few days ago, and many warships were damaged, so Judge only took one warship, otherwise, he wouldn't let our marine escort him if he was being targeted. Laugh. As soon as the words fell, there was a strong jet sound from far to near, and a figure on the battleship of Germa 66 was seen flying into the air, and a strong air flow erupted under his feet, pushing that person to fly. Someone is flying over. On the watchtower, the young lookout yelled. The next moment, the figure crossed the sea at a distance of nearly 1,000 meters at an extremely fast speed, flew directly over the Zephyr ship, and fell slowly in the eyes of everyone. Judge, I did not allow you to board my ship at will. Zephyr strode forward with a cold face. Advertisement Chapter 42, Vince Moquet Judge and the Steamboat. Advertisement. Who? Stop. Don't move. Smoker and other members of the elite class surrounded the uninvited guy in the middle. Judge. Vince Moquet Judge. When he heard Zephyr's words, Cross showed curiosity, and quickly observed the comer carefully. Because when he thinks of Judge, he thinks of his third son Sanji, and then thinks of Sanji's sister Reju. Suck. Wipe your drool. I saw this uninvited guy wearing a metal helmet and long blonde hair, making it look like Monkey King from Super Saiyan 3. He is tall, with a serious expression, calm and majestic, about 30 to 40 years old, with a pointed black beard facing upwards, and a small beard on the protruding chin, wearing an orange cloak and a Germa's 66 logo light gray combat uniform, with white long gloves, a golden belt with 66 logo and black combat boots with jet propulsion. The person who came was the king of the Germa kingdom, the commander of Germa 66, and the man called the strange bird, Vince Moquet Judge. Judge looked disapprovingly at the sailors around him, then turned his gaze to Zephyr, and said indifferently, if you treat a king so rudely, don't all your students want to become kingslayers? Apparently, Judge also read today's newspaper to find out what Zephyr was doing in the kingdom of Flevance. For those who board my warship without permission, if my students don't even have this reaction, they are not worthy of being my students. Zephyr said in a deep voice, it's you. Vince Moquet Judge, you set foot on Marine's warship without permission, even if I'm asking someone to beat you out, it's justified. That's right, Marine will only welcome a king who is worthy of welcome. If someone dares to provoke Marine, it doesn't matter if you kill another king. Cross held down Jingsho on his waist with one hand, and walked slowly in front of Judge, looking directly into his eyes, with a hint of coldness in his air. Judge frowned, looked at the underage child in front of him, and then said with a contemptuous smile, Ha, Your Excellency Zephyr, when will it be the turn of this brat to talk nonsense instead of you? I really don't understand any rules. What? Rules? How many rules have you followed? Cross slightly tilted his head, narrowed his eyes, and there was a hint of sarcasm in his eyes. Advertisement. At the same time, he held the scabbard with his left hand, flicked his thumb up, and the Jingsho knife at his waist revealed a sharp blade, and a fierce aura erupted from him. This kind of momentum. Judge's eyes were fixed, and he couldn't help being surprised. Because he actually sensed the slightest sense of danger from this brat. After a while, Judge grinned and said, Ha ha ha, Your Excellency Zephyr, your Marines are really talented. Okay. Stop talking nonsense, I'm just here to escort you safely to Holy Land Mariajoy, I'm not here to talk nonsense to you. Zephyr snorted softly, and said bluntly, you should return your own on board, we'll fight off the enemy before it strikes, and won't disturb you eating lobster tomato spaghetti in the castle. Don't be so unkind, Your Excellency Zephyr, I haven't seen you for a long time, but I came here specially to invite you to taste the region's brand sherry I just bought, Judge smiled nonchalantly. Farewell. Zephyr waved his hand and refused. What if you put something in the wine too? You say I'll kill you. Or maim you. He, you really know how to joke. Since Your Excellency Zephyr doesn't want to give you face, then forget it. But next, please Your Excellency Zephyr, please take care of yourself. Seeing that Zephyr rejected his invitation, Judge was not annoyed, and after a chuckle, he was ready to say goodbye. To the southeast, about 1,000 meters away, I found a ship. Wait, it's actually a rare steam ship. Suddenly, the broadcast under the watchtower sounded, and the watchman's exclamation came. With his expression unchanged, Cross took a few quick steps towards the stern of the ship, took the binoculars from Uchimura's hand, and looked towards the southeast. An iron-hulled boat emitting black smoke appeared within Cross' sight. There were large waterwheel-shaped wheels rotating on both sides of the hull. The huge red sails were very conspicuous, with 10 white skulls surrounded by patterns on it. A flag of the same pattern is also hoisted from the mast. Mr. Zephyr, it's the Roberts Legion. With a slightly condensed expression, Cross recognized the pirate flag on the twin steamships. There was a sound of breathing on the deck. You're not kidding, Cross. Advertisement. Kibben exclaimed. Are you talking about the Roberts Legion with more than 20 pirate ships and more than 10,000 troops? If you don't believe me, see for yourself. Cross glanced at Kibben, and handed him the monocular. If you call the steamship, it should be the Spiral of Silver Wrist Legerto. It seems that it is that guy. At this time, Judge spat unhappily, but his tone of voice contained a hint of solemnity. Silver Wrist Regedo is that the man who offered a bounty of 499 million and ranked first among the 3 admiral armies of the Roberts Legion. Another exclamation sounded. His name is very good, and he's a man with afro hair and a blue marine tattoo on his chin. Don't worry, there is only Spiral, a steamship, and the opponent will not launch an attack. Zephyr said in a deep voice. Leave this sea area first, to prevent being surrounded by the main force of Robert's army. However, what Zephyr said was correct. I only saw that the steamship had been hanging behind the Germa warship and the marine warship. It neither launched an attack nor retreated. It was clearly on a surveillance mission. Later, when 917 Judge saw the troublemaker coming, he offered to leave. Your Excellency Zephyr, I'm going back first. If Lei Jia dares to attack, we will sink his ship. Laugh. After speaking, a white air flow visible to the naked eye immediately shot out from his feet, and then he flew into the sky, left the warship, drew a curved arc in the sky, and returned directly to Germa's battleship. Because of the severe storm a few days ago, many warships of Germa 66 were damaged and it took time to repair, so Judge had to take a warship to the Holy Land Mariajoy. It's just that Judge knew that his enemy came to find him from the second half of the Grand Line, so he felt alone, so he contacted naval headquarters and got the warship led by Zephyr to escort him. Otherwise, Germa 66 led by Judge has dozens of warships and tens of thousands of elite soldiers, so he would not be afraid of the enemy's pursuit of revenge, unless his enemy is the few overlords in the second half of the Grand Line. Full sail, escort 500 meters away from Germa 66, level 2 combat alert. Immediately afterwards, Zephyr also issued an order, causing everyone on the deck to move, and then ordered to cross alone. Send some activated creatures to monitor the nearby sea surface to prevent us from being surrounded by Robert's army. Leave it to me, I will go myself. Cross replied in a deep voice, turned around, and walked towards the metal black dragon in the middle of the deck. Advertisement Chapter 43, Silver Wrist Legerdo. Advertisement. There are many black technologies in the world of One Piece, and steamship is one of them. However, due to the limitations of the environment, technological level, and times in this world, steamships are still at the most elementary stage, and they still have huge sails, which allow steamships to use wind power to reduce the consumption of steam engines and increase the speed of ships. Speed. Of course, the reason why black technology is because such technology is not yet universal. Firstly, steamships and steam engines are not perfect, and secondly, they are expensive, making steamships very rare. As one of the silver medalists in the second half of the Grand Line, the Roberts Legion has more than 20 warships, but the steamship only has Spiral. General Legerto, many things flew out of Marine's warship. At the same time, on the oak deck of the steamship Spiral, a lookout was observing the situation of the Marine battleship and Germa battleship in the distance with a monocular, and suddenly yelled. See what it is. Then, a steady voice sounded. The lookout put down the binoculars in his hand, turned around and saw a 3-meter-tall man walking over. I saw that the other party was handsome, with a black skull pendant hanging on his neck, his bare upper body had iron-like strong muscles and many scars, silver wrist armor on his wrist, and a silver-gray men's suit on his lower body skirt and steel armor boots with gilt patterns. Open black lens bracket silver wrist close black lens bracket Legerdo, one of the 3 admiral armies of the Roberts Legion, the most common is 99 million. Lord Regato, it's too far away, so I can't see it clearly, but I can tell it's a large flying bird. The lookout replied. What is that? At this time, Regato frowned, and looked up at a big black shadow in the sky flying towards the direction of the Spiral steamship. The lookout hurriedly picked up the binoculars to watch, but saw a black monster about 20 meters long, whose body had a metallic luster under the sunlight. Is that a dragon? The lookout looked horrified and screamed stammeringly. A distance of 1,000 meters is not far for a flying creature with a body length of about 20 meters, and it flew there very quickly. Fake. Fake. At this time, Lei Jado also showed an expression of disbelief, because he also saw clearly that the big black shadow flying in the sky was really a black dragon covered in black. Ah, what are you kidding? It's actually a black dragon. Advertisement. This kind of creature exists in legends, and it shouldn't exist in reality. Damn it, did I steal a drink last night? Did I get dizzy? Why did I see a creature like a dragon? At the same time, on the steamship, Spiral, the soldiers of the Roberts Legion were all astonished and could hardly believe their eyes. At this moment, Cross sat on the back of the metal black dragon, his eyes coldly scanning the steamship below and the pirates on the deck of the steamship. Among them, a tall and strong man with a bare upper body attracted his attention, because his observation Haki detected a strong voice from the other party. One is the voice that is different from the small ones and belongs to the strong. That guy is open black lens bracket silver wrist close black lens bracket Regido. Cross whispered to himself, and his eyes met with that of Regido. The imp on the dragon's back is marine. Open black lens bracket spiral close black lens bracket Legerdo on the steamship froze, and immediately thought in his mind, is he here to spy on me? Surveillance on others, unexpectedly being reversely monitored by others. There was a cruel smile on Lei Jado's handsome face, and the silver armor on his wrist turned on its own, and then turned faster and faster, and finally it was like a car tire driving at high speed, even buzzing. The buzzing sound. Moreover, under the high-speed rotation of Regido's wrist armors, the air was actually moved, forming a spiral cyclone visible to the naked eye. Double spiral shock. In the next second, Lei Jiao let out a low cry, and suddenly punched upwards with both fists, and the spiral cyclone could be seen with the naked eye instantly bursting out, set off a violent wind pressure. Kanglang. In the sky, Cross on the back of the black dragon had already expected that he would be attacked, so he pulled out the Jingsho knife at his waist like lightning, and slashed out in the air, drawing a bright knife light in the air. One blade flow flying mang. Bang. The incomparably sharp knife light burst out from the void, and collided with two high-speed rotating white air masses. The violent air wave exploded, spreading like a severe storm in all directions, causing the sea hundreds of meters below to set off turbulent waves. Nani. Advertisement. Spiral on the steamship. Reggie looked stunned and looked at Cross above his head in shock. He didn't expect that the other party looked like an underage kid, but turned into a powerful swordsman in the end. At this time, Cross suddenly had an idea, so he reached out and patted the metal black dragon under his crotch, and said, "Go down, let's destroy this ship." Roar. As soon as the words fell, the metal black dragon raised its head and let out a roar, then it rushed down like a sharp arrow, and hit the steamship below with its body. The dragon flew down. Shoot, shoot, shoot it down. Damn it, that dragon didn't slow down. My god, what is that dragon trying to do? Want to ram and sink our ship with its body? The pirates on the spiral couldn't stop exclaiming, many of them picked up their weapons and shot at the black dragon flying down at a high speed. However, they don't know that the black dragon itself is an all-metal sculpture, not to mention firearms, even ordinary artillery can hardly destroy its body. I saw the muzzles of dozens of muskets flickering with flames, and lead bullets came out of their chambers extremely quickly, but they smashed into pieces on the black dragon's extremely hard steel body. Court death. Lei Jia showed anger on his face, feeling that he was underestimated by Zhao Hao. The wrist armor on his wrist turned again, and he punched out a high-speed rotating white air mass. Spiral shock. One blade flow flying mang. All of a sudden, Cross on the back of the black dragon also slashed with his knife. The sharp wind of the knife almost tore through the air, bursting out blue and white slashes. Bang 1. The air wave collided with the sword wave, and a dull thunder-like noise erupted, and a violent air wave swept out, blowing all the pirates on the deck of the steamship Spiral over. The sea water in the sea was churning, causing the steamship Spiral, which was more than 70 meters long, to shake violently. The next second, when the pirates of Roberts's Legion were terrified and saw that the black dragon was about to hit the Spiral steamship, they saw that the black dragon actually changed direction in the air, using a huge bat wing. The dragon wings swept across the thick and strong main mast. I went to other places in the past 2 days, and I don't have much time. Codewords. Advertisement Chapter 44 Cross vs Regido. Advertisement. Bang. There was a loud bang. Spiral on the steamship, the main mast with a diameter of nearly 1 meter and a thickness of the main mast actually broke in the middle, and the upper half of the main mast, which was still nearly 20 meters long, slowly toppled towards the stern, quickly breaking the sail cables attached to it one by one. Before Lei Jado and others stepped forward to stop them, they saw that the heavy upper half of the main mast had been completely toppled down, hitting the stern of the steamship Spiral heavily. Bang. There was another loud bang, and the steamship Spiral suddenly shook, and the hull of the more than 70-meter-long hull appeared to be in a state of bowing and stern sinking. Fortunately, the load capacity and balance of the Spiral steamship are quite excellent. The nearly 20-meter-long main mast will not make the whole ship unbalanced, and the hull will soon return to its original state. The deck building was smashed, and all kinds of wood fragments and debris flew around. The mainmast is down. Hurry up and save people. Oh, poor Tom is under the pressure. Ah. General Regido's room was smashed. There were running pirates everywhere on the deck, yelling in panic. Although the pirates of the Roberts Legion are well-trained soldiers, they are just ordinary people, and they will panic and be afraid. He, brat. Lei Jia smiled instead of being angry, looked at the cross in the sky with admiration, and said to himself, "You want to destroy the sail and reduce the speed of Spiral, you really succeeded. The steamship relies on sails. With the blessing of wind, its speed is much faster than that of ordinary sailing warships. But in the same way, without the sails, without the blessing of the wind, relying only on the most primitive steam engine boiler, the speed is about the same as that of an ordinary three-masted sail warship, which makes it impossible for the steamship, Spiral, to easily perform surveillance tasks. At the same time, the metal black dragon that Cross was riding drew a perfect arc in midair, quickly lifted into the air, and then rushed down again. Activation Falling Star. The all-metal sculpture with a length of about 20 meters rushed down at a speed exceeding the speed of sound, as if a meteorite had fallen, as if a huge black arrow had hit the spiral string steamship and through it. Ah, here we go again. General Rego, help. Advertisement. The pirates of Robert's Legion shouted in horror. This time you came here for my boat. Lei Jado said with a chuckle, however, I can't let you succeed. While speaking, his muscles tensed all over his body, the wrist armor on his right arm spun at high speed, and a silver cone-shaped whirlwind rolled up on his arm with a buzzing, and then smashed the oak deck under his feet, and rushed upward like a cannonball. Spiral burst. Accompanied by Hong Lei's violent shouting, Lei Jado swung his fist with all his strength, and slammed the black metal dragon's forehead fiercely. Bang! Two figures, one big and one small, collided together like sparks hitting the earth, and a deafening roar erupted on the spot. The white ripples visible to the naked eye spread in a circular shape, and a bitter storm was stirred up in an instant, with a violent momentum, sweeping the sky and the sea with a roar. Click. In the next second, a slight crack sounded. A crack appeared on the head of the black metal dragon, and it expanded rapidly. After a while, countless cracks quickly extended to most of the black metal dragon's body. Oh, damn it! Cross cursed like a groan, and immediately jumped off the metal black dragon's body. Immediately, the front half of the metal black dragon shattered, and with surging vigor, it turned into countless metal fragments and shot out in all directions. At the same time, Regado, who was in midair, also felt his blood vibrating, and flew back involuntarily, and fell on the deck with a boom, causing a circle of cobweb-like cracks to open on the thick oak deck around him. General Legerto. Dragon. Broken. It's bad, the kid on the dragon's back has jumped onto the boat. Spiral, the pirates on the steamship were dumbfounded and could not help but exclaim, BEFG. Because, they didn't expect that the black dragon was smashed to pieces by Lei Jado's 10 punches. It shattered like a stone, but no blood flowed out. Could it be that the legendary dragons are not living creatures? However, many pirates also reacted, grabbed the weapons in their hands, and surrounded Crow's position. Call, you actually smashed such a big metal black dragon sculpture with one punch, that guy is really a monster. Cross squatted on the mainmast that was dumped on the deck, scanning the surrounding pirates with sharp eyes, and murmured in displeasure. Advertisement. Boom. Suddenly, a shot rang out. A pirate raised a musket aimed at Cross's head, couldn't help pulling the trigger, the muzzle of the gun flashed, and a buckshot shot out quickly, heading straight for Cross's head. Cross didn't panic in the slightest, and swung the knife with his backhand. Hearing the sound of ding, the sharp Jingsho knife drew a cold light in the air, instantly cut the lead bullet from the middle, and let the lead bullet that had lost power and turned into two halves fall on the ground. Deck. HMPH, looking for death. Cross laughed lightly, jumped up suddenly, and smashed into the crowd on the deck like a cannonball. Phew. In an instant, an extremely sharp knife light flashed past, and several pirates were chopped off at the waist, and blood gushed out like a fountain. Kill him. But this tragic scene didn't frighten the others. The pirates of Robert's Legion roared ferociously and rushed towards Cross like one after another. Just in time. One-shot shockwave. Cross looked cold, held open black lens bracket Jingsho close black lens bracket, and slashed towards the nearest enemy without hesitation. The biting wind of the knife burst out, sending dozens of people flying. Immediately, I saw the Cross people walking with the sword, turning the sword with the people, stopping and stopping without stopping, and swaying the brilliant light of the sword in an instant, setting off a bloody storm among the crowd. As one of the 50 craftsmen of Liang Kuei Dao, open black lens bracket Jingshu close black lens bracket has an extremely sharp blade, coupled with the power of Cross, it can easily cut off a tough human body, just like a hot knife cutting butter, and even kill several people with one blow. Personal. Marine kid, isn't it too arrogant to take my people as vegetables? Suddenly, Regado rushed over from the side shouting angrily, wrapped in a strong wind, so as to hit Cross like a cannonball. Yin. There was the sound of knives in the air. Then there was a bright knife light, and it slashed towards Lei Jado like lightning. Scandium. The sharp blade slashed on the silver wrist armor, and there was a piercing clang sound, and a few sparks splashed out, arousing a burst of violent energy and spreading in all directions. Advertisement Chapter 45 One person captures the ship. Advertisement. Spiral, the upper deck of the steamship was in a mess, dark red blood stained the oak deck and white sails, there were stumps and broken arms everywhere, and dozens of broken corpses were lying on the ground. The sea breeze that contains salty breath blows, but it is mixed with a strong smell of blood and a touch of gunpowder smoke. Legerdo, right, kill me a dragon, just kill a few of you, and you've made a lot of money. Cross tilted his head in thought, watching the Jingsho knife in his hand being stabbed by the other party. Blocked by the silver wrist armors of both hands, he couldn't help showing a somewhat provocative expression. Stop coming. Regado grinned and said with a sneer, it's just a revived metal sculpture, don't you think I don't know your identity, marine brat? Sculpture City, the countless stone statues and sculptures running around in Skokine, isn't it all your masterpiece? Ah, you actually found out about it. Cross looked at the other party in surprise, not expecting his identity to be revealed so quickly. HMPH, it's a big loss for me to exchange the lives of my subordinates with a metal sculpture. Lei Jiayuo snorted coldly, and threw his hands out forcefully, shaking off Cross's Jingsho knife. Afterwards, Rego stepped forward quickly, and the silver wrist armors on his hands turned quickly, and the buzzing, rolled up air formed a silver cone-shaped whirlwind on his hands, like an electric drill, facing Cross's body just hit it. Seeing this scene, Cross jumped up, took a few steps in the air, and went directly to Legardo's back, slashing at the opponent's neck with a knife. Clang. At the critical moment, Rego turned around quickly, raised his left arm to block the sharp, Jingsho knife with his wrist armor, and then swung the electric drill in his right hand to hit Cross's head. Cross stepped back quickly, and swung the Jingsho knife in his hand to slash outwards, directly colliding with the high-speed rotating cone-shaped whirlwind outside of Lei Jado's right arm. Unexpectedly, because of the high-speed rotation of this conical whirlwind, it actually deflected the Jingsho knife, and almost made Cross lose his balance. Bang! Reggie seized the opportunity decisively, put his foot on Cross's body, and kicked the latter out on the spot. For a moment, before Cross could react, he felt a sharp pain in his abdomen, and his whole body turned into a black shadow. He straddled tens of meters away with a swoosh, and hit the deck of the bow with a bang. The surging momentum spread, and the huge force shattered the thick oak deck, almost smashing the deck. Marine Kid, die. With a low snort, Lei Jado rushed from the stern of the ship, and then leapt several meters high. The rotation of the wrist armor on his right arm became even faster, and the silver cone-shaped whirlwind form became more solid. Like an oversized electric drill, it brazenly bombarded the bottom. In an instant, Cross put his hands on the ground, turned over quickly, and then left the spot with a backflip, landing directly on the huge turret at the bow. Advertisement. Bang. In the next second, Rego fell, blasting a big hole in the deck fiercely, especially under the impetus of the rapidly rotating vigorous air. Countless pieces of wood exploded in all directions like shotgun bullets. Out. Really, I almost died. What a strange ability. Standing on the top of the semicircular steel turret, Cross murmured to himself with lingering fear. Afterwards, seeing that he had missed a blow, Lei Jado immediately stomped on his feet and rushed out again, intending to continue attacking Cross. Activation Trident Dance. Seeing Rego attacking, Cross showed sarcasm and waved outward with his left hand. Suddenly, a cable as thin as an adult's forearm moved out of thin air, and then sprang out like a lion majesty, and quickly wrapped around Legardo's body from an angle. How is this going? Lei Jiayuo was caught off guard, and was bound firmly by this cable, and then lost his balance directly, and fell heavily to the ground. Drown me in the sea. Cross grinned, raised his hand and waved outwards, and saw that the cable that bound the Legardo seemed to be pulled by someone, and he directly used the Legardo outward. Ah! With a dazed expression on his face, Lei Jado couldn't help screaming. His body flew out while being bound, and the cables on his body were not released automatically until he flew out of the spiral steamship. However, it was already too late. Reggie couldn't fly, and his body was in a state of loss of balance in midair. He had nowhere to borrow his strength. He just danced and flew hundreds of meters away, and then fell with a plop into the sea, set off several meters high waves. General Legardo fell into the sea. It's over. General Legardo is a paramesha spiral fruit capable person, and he can't swim at all. Quick, go save people. The pirates on the deck were all shocked when they saw this scene. Many of them jumped into the sea one after another without even thinking about it, trying to rescue Rego. Asking for flowers. Advertisement. Ha 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 ha. Cross laughed loudly, and shouted arrogantly to the pirates on the spiral steamship. Now, I declare that this ship belongs to me. Hateful. FK him to death. Let's go together. Drive this marine kid down. Hearing Cross's arrogant declaration, Rego's subordinates were extremely angry. They all roared and rushed towards Cross in a threatening manner, and some people rushed out from the lower deck in the cabin. Court death. Cross snorted coldly, and said in a deep voice, your ship is now under my control. As soon as the voice fell, all the thick and long cables on the deck were all moving, like the tentacles of a giant octopus, wantonly dancing with its teeth and claws. Some cables were like boa constrictors in the forest, entangled pirates like lightning, and then tightened continuously, strangling them to death. Some cables were like whips, lashing towards the nearest pirate, beating a large group of pirates to pieces, and even flying them directly into the sea. There were also many cables directly tied to the pirate's body, lifted the target into the air, and smashed it hard towards the deck, killing it on the spot. That's right, after being hit by Rego, Cross took the opportunity to activate the steamship with the ability of the living fruit, forcibly turning the opponent's home field into his own home field. Now, Cross is in control of everything on the spiral steamship, and he can clean up all the pirates on board without having to do it himself. I only saw that the battle was still going on, and the pirates of the Roberts Legion were advancing one after another, and were still attacking the Cross, but they were stopped by the spiral steamship that had come alive, and killed it mercilessly. In a short period of time, Rego's subordinates suffered heavy casualties, dead bodies and wailing wounded were everywhere, and hundreds of pirates were almost wiped out. Suddenly, Cross's face changed slightly, and he suddenly lowered his head and looked down, as if through the thick oak deck. He saw several pirates dragging their injured bodies in the boiler room of the spiral steamship, struggling to get some kegs of gunpowder and light them with a torch. Oh, my boat. Boom, boom. Before he finished speaking, a thunderous continuous roar came from inside the cabin, and the huge steamship suddenly vibrated 7 times. Advertisement Chapter 46 failed to seize the ship and leave. Advertisement. Look, Cross is fighting with the pirates on that steamship. Nice job. Cross broke the mainmast of the opponent's ship. No, Cross's black dragon is broken. Oh, Cross fell on the pirate's boat, and started to FK with Rego. Oh my god, Cross knocked out Rego. Cross wins. On Marine's warship, the watchman has been observing the steamship in the distance, but after he discovered that Cross and the pirates of Roberts's legion had clashed, he immediately notified Zephyr and the others. However, what happened next exceeded the expectations of Zephyr and the others. They did not expect that Cross broke the mainmast of the opponent's ship, which made them very happy. As a result, Zephyr and others didn't expect that Cross would not stop, and rushed to the opponent's boat again to continue attacking, but even the golden, lingalingling, black dragon that was sitting down was smashed by Rego. But just when they turned pale with fright and hurriedly turned the bow of the ship to support Cross, something even more unexpected happened. Cross actually killed all directions on the steamship, Spiral, even Rego flew into the sea. Such an unexpected record really shocked and excited the soldiers, and even made them feel jealous. This kid is really reckless, but he did a good job. Zephyr said something blaming, but still nodded in praise, and told Smoker and others with satisfaction, full sail. Speed forward, don't let us see. Before he finished speaking, Zephyr's expression became terrified, because he saw the hull of the Spiral steamship unexpectedly burst into flames. Rumble. The next moment, the dull loud noise was like thunder on a sunny day, and it spread to the students of the Marine School, including Jifa and Smoo. Everyone saw that the Spiral steamship had a violent explosion. The blazing flames and huge shock waves caused the entire hull to be blown apart, and countless burning objects were thrown out all over the sky, like a rain of fire. My god, that ship exploded. Cross is still on it. Everyone exclaimed. But their worries are unnecessary. Advertisement. Moonwalk. On the Spiral steamship, Cross let out a low cry, jumped up immediately, and ran into the sky as if stepping on an invisible ladder. Afterwards, Cross had an angry expression on his face, and watched as the Spiral steamship broke into 2 pieces due to the violent explosion, and finally gradually sank in the raging fire. Steamships are rare, and he originally wanted to use this ship as his own ship, but he was blown up and sunk by the pirates of the Roberts Legion in the same way. Gee. At this time, there was a long chirp of an eagle. Cross turned his head and saw a silver giant eagle with a wingspan of more than 5 meters flying from a distance. The silver giant eagle caught Cross in the air, let him sit cross-legged on his back, and then flew towards the warship in the distance. The steamship, Spiral, was still burning in the sea and broke in 2. On the battleship of Germa 66. Judge stood on the stern deck with a gloomy expression, staring at the giant silver eagle in the air with serious eyes, until the opponent fell behind Marine's warship and disappeared. He let out a long breath of foul breath. That brat. Judge turned his head and ordered to the subordinates behind him. Go, find out the identity and ability of that Marine brat. Yes, Commander. The soldier wore a half-white hood, a yellow scarf, a white shoulder holster, and a black combat uniform with the 66 logo on his chest. He responded respectfully, then turned and left. Father, you have taken a fancy to the other party's ability. Suddenly, a slightly immature voice sounded from behind Judge. Judge looked back and found that behind him was his daughter, Vince Moke Reju. This is a little girl who is only 8 years old. She wears a black headband on her pink mid-length hair and covers her right eye. Wearing a lavender scarf, wearing a pink dress with a dark red swirl pattern on it, and white short boots on her feet. Yes, Judge didn't hide anything, and said directly, similar to BIGMOM's ability, you only need some stones and metals, and you can get an endless supply of soldiers. They are cheap, powerful, and fearless. If we can get them, it will be a new era for the kingdom of Germa. An important force to dominate North Blue. Perhaps, I can. Advertisement. As he said that, an idea suddenly popped up in Judge's mind, but after he took a serious look at Reju, he gave up without thinking. Reju's age is still too young, it's too early to want to get married. Afterwards, Zephyr's warship and Judge's warship left the sea, leaving the survivors of Robert's Legion to fend for themselves. Because for Zephyr, escorting Judge to Holy Land Mariajoy is the first task, and dealing with Robert's Legion is not in his task list. What's more, Zephyr only has a few hundred Marine cadets under his command. The delay is too long. Once encountering the main force of the Roberts Legion, it is tantamount to touching a corpse with an egg. The most important thing is to leave this sea area quickly and get rid of the tracking of the Roberts Legion things. At the same time, Zephyr also reported to Naval Headquarters that the Roberts Legion appeared in North Blue, and asked Naval Headquarters Intelligence Department and the World Government's CP organization to step up their search for and monitor Roberts Legion. In this way, even if the Naval Headquarters cannot spare the strength to deal with the Roberts Legion now, the Marine units can avoid the Roberts Legion and cause unnecessary losses. But not long after Zephyr and Judge's ships left this sea area, a huge fleet also entered this sea area and arrived at the position where Cross and Rego fought. All I saw was black flags hung on the main masts of about 20 ships, with patterns of 10 white skulls surrounding them. They were the large fleet of the Roberts Legion. Help, it's our fleet coming. Barshalamy's regiment commander, General Legia 1.8 is here. Spiral, the survivors on the steamship kept waving and shouting loudly in the sea. Soon, the ships of the Roberts Corps put down their boats and began to rescue and search for survivors at sea. Cough cough. Cough cough cough. The semi-conscious Rego was sent to a lifeboat with difficulty by his subordinates, and then someone gave him first aid, pressed his abdomen and beat him hard, causing Rego to cough on the spot. Spit out a mouthful of seawater. Afterwards, Legia woke up leisurely, frowned and opened his eyes, and saw several subordinates surrounding him. General Regedo, are you all right? Someone asked cautiously. Are you saved? Cough cough. Legiuo coughed a few times, struggled to sit up, and cursed in a low voice. You be asterisk 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 D, cough cough cough. You won't be so lucky next time. Quote. Advertisement Chapter 47 Sabaody Archipelago. Advertisement. The first half of the Grand Line Sabaody Archipelago. It's so beautiful, simply a dreamlike scene. Incredible place. A lot of bubbles are flying. Cross, Smoker and others gathered on the deck, looking at the scene in front of them in shock, and couldn't stop exclaiming. On the sea, a dreamlike island like a paradise appeared in the eyes of everyone. Bubbles in the sun, like a dream. Huge mangroves, covering the sky and the sun. That's right, this is the island below the red line, the dreamy Sabaody Archipelago. Although I have seen it in anime, but when Cross witnessed the real Sabaody Archipelago, the incomparable magnificence, splendor and fantasy far surpassed that shown in the anime by 10, 100, or even 1,000 times. In fact, Sabaody Archipelago is very close to Naval Headquarters Marineford Island, because there is the world's largest mangrove tree, the Alcaman mangrove. Because the roots of the tree are always exposed to the water, and the whole island is composed of 79 trees, it will bubbles emerge from the ground, and there are towns and facilities on every tree, so people call the archipelago composed of 79 islands. Sabaody Archipelago. And the biggest feature of Sabaody Archipelago is that the roots of Alchiman mangrove secrete a special natural resin due to respiration, and the resin expands to form bubbles due to air expansion, and then flies to the sky. However, these bubbles are only suitable for the climate range of the archipelago. Once the bubbles are out of the climate range of the Sabaody Archipelago, the resinous components will explode because they cannot fully exert their power. Most importantly, Sabaody Archipelago's bubble cars, bubble Ferris wheel and houses built on bubbles and other things, it can be said that bubble culture permeates every place in Sabaody Island. Advertisement. However, Cross still remembers that in the future, Sabaody Archipelago will experience a major event that will shock the world government. The Straw Hat Pirates, who are the protagonists of this world, will be broken up here until they reunite 2 years later. Therefore, Sabaody Archipelago is also called the Island of Failure and the Island of Starting Again by Brooke of the Straw Hat Pirates. But thinking of this, Cross narrowed his eyes, and a group of guys in bubble caps and an old man nicknamed Pluton emerged in his mind. Okay, let's watch it when we have time. Suddenly, Zephyr's voice rang in his ears, interrupting Cross, thinking. Cross turned his head and saw Zephyr striding towards him, waved his hands to disperse the crowd, and then said in a deep voice, let's go to Red Harbor, which is the entrance and exit of the world government. Send Vince Moke Judge safely to Holy Land after Mariajoy. I can give you some time to visit the Sabaody Archipelago in batches. Hearing Zephyr's words, everyone suppressed the restlessness in their hearts. While thinking about where to go to play at that time, they stepped up their work and drove the warship to the direction of Red Harbor according to Zephyr's guidance. Germa's warship followed closely behind Zephyr's warship, entering the Sabaody Archipelago one after another. Red Harbor is an island port located directly below the Red Line. It is also an official channel to cross the Red Line. It is under the jurisdiction of the world government. Only approved passengers can pass through the Red Line and freely cross the Red Line. In addition, there are 2 Red Harbors, 1, Paradise, in the first half of the Grand Line, and 1, New World, in the second half of the Grand Line, sandwiching the Red 10 continent in the middle. It didn't take long for Zephyr's warship and Judge's warship to arrive at the Red Harbor of the Sabaody Archipelago, where they were docked in the berths of the shore port. Wow, that's Germa 66. That fictitious organization really exists. I read it right. Look, it's King Vince Moke Judge of Germa Kingdom. There is also Black Arm Zephyr, the former Marine Admiral who killed the Flevance Kingdom not long ago, and the current Marine Chief Instructor. It's so rare. The rumored King Slayer and the legendary Army of Evil were actually seen today. On the shore of Hong Kong, thousands of reporters and the public rushed to watch, exclamations came and went, and the flashes of the cameras almost never stopped. Advertisement. At the same time, there are Marine soldiers and CP agents in Red Harbor to maintain order and clear a wide road. Zephyr led Cross, Smoker, Hina and several people off the boat, walked together with Judge and Regu, and walked along the main street towards the interior of Red Harbor. Cross looked at the surrounding environment curiously, and looked up at the towering red line with the world government mark painted on the rock wall. Of course, what attracted Cross's attention the most was the 2 huge bubble pods made of bubbles. Each pod uses 4 ropes to provide movement. You can see 8 ropes falling vertically from the rock wall of the red line. The 2 bubble pods travel up and down like elevators. Lord Zephyr, what do you think we are like now? Suddenly, Judge looked expressionlessly at the crowds on both sides of the street, turned his head slightly involuntarily, and asked softly. Zephyr was silent, his eyes flickering. No one got an answer, and Judge didn't care, and replied self-consciously, don't you think we are like monkeys being visited in an amusement park? Ha ha. At this time, Zephyr and Cross behind Judge chuckled, and said slowly, Your Majesty Judge, you haven't been in the dark for too long, and you can't get used to life under the sun. 243. As the king of a country, conspiracy is those who cannot take on a big role, their own strength is everything. Hearing the sarcasm in Cross's words, Judge's face flashed with anger, but he couldn't get angry under the countless spotlights, so he said in a low tone, "Little devil, don't be too obsessed with force, many things in the world are not light. By fighting and killing, you can achieve the desired goal." That's right, what His Majesty Judge means is that this world is not only about fighting and killing, but also about the ways of the world, right? Cross said disapprovingly, but has His Majesty Judge ever thought about it? Maybe it's just the Horse Kingdom's military strength is not enough. If you have the strength of the giants of the New World, then your dream of dominating North Blue should come true. When talking, Cross winked on purpose, and teased the little Rego who was looking back at him, but in the end, Rego curled his lips boredly and rolled his eyes at himself. Little devil, you are actually preaching to me. Judge heard Cross's words, and the anger in his heart became even worse, but he had to admit that what the other party said was reasonable. If he had a powerful military force that even the world government feared, he would have unified North Blue long ago. However, after being taught such a lesson by an underage kid, Judge felt aggrieved and a little bit frustrated in his heart. Advertisement Chapter 48 Marine Faction, Dove Faction. Advertisement. It's been a long journey, please watch your step. After a few minutes of ascent, the bubble pod finally reached the port near the red line. The soldiers guarding the reception platform were wearing full plate armor and holding knight spears, and respectfully greeted Zephyr, Judge and others. However, this reception platform is not the real Mariajoy. There is still a wide step up to hundreds of meters in front of it. Largest continent. Zephyr, Judge and others kept walking. Under the escort of a dozen soldiers, they climbed up the steps hundreds of meters high and came to a huge, magnificent and gorgeous city gate. Open the door. Some soldiers shouted loudly. The next moment, the huge gate of the city rumbled, opened, and under the bright sunlight, an incomparably magnificent and majestic picture appeared before everyone's eyes. First, an extremely spacious and flat road appeared in front of him, leading directly to the majestic city in the distance. Secondly, there were vast man-made forests on both sides, which looked extraordinarily green, and even the air was much fresher, and he was not in a high place, and the air becomes thinner. Here is the pinnacle of the Red Line, where the descendants of the Creator live, and where the headquarters of the world government is located. This majestic land is called Land Mariajoy. Okay, I'll leave it to you, Holy Land Defense Corps. Zephyr looked at the Holy Land Mariajoy in front of him, and said expressionlessly. Thank you, Instructor Zephyr, leave the escort and guidance to us. The soldier of the Holy Land Defense Corps replied in a deep voice. Hearing Zephyr's words, Cross wasn't surprised either. Holy Land Mariajoy was naturally guarded by soldiers from the Holy Land Defense Corps and agents from the CP organization. The Marine side only guarded the periphery, sending 1 or 2 admirals at most. However, in the current Marine, only Sengoku is the admiral on the job, and he is still sitting in the G1 branch, monitoring the monsters in the second half of the Grand Line. Naturally, there are not enough admirals to be placed in the Holy Land Mariajoy. Fortunately, Marine has quite a few vice admirals. It is said that 2 vice admirals with the 3 major Logia abilities are in Holy Land Mariajoy, and the Marine hero Monkey D. Garp, who is not Marine Admiral but is better than Marine Admiral, is enough to guard the Holy Land Mariajoys. Moreover, now comes the Black Arm, Zephyr, who was the former admiral. Under such a heavy guard, even the current naval headquarters is far less safe than the Holy Land Mariajoy. Afterwards, Zephyr bid farewell to Judge, and led Cross, Smoker and others back the same way. In fact, Marine has a special gathering place in Holy Land Mariajoy. Every time, World Summit, part of Marine's combat power will stay in Holy Land Mariajoy. It's just that most Marine generals don't like to be with people from the world government, and prefer to stay in the Red Harbor below the Red Line, and Zephyr is one of them. Advertisement. Ever since, Zephyr, Cross, Smoker and others took the bubble pod and returned to the Red Harbor below the Red Line. 10 more big bones. Boss, 5 more servings of macaroni. Pizza. No more pizza. Zephyr led Cross, Smoker and Hina to a large Chinese restaurant in Hong Kong, and under the guidance of the middle-aged boss, they came to the door of a box. But before the door was opened, various shouts were heard from inside. Crunch. Zephyr pushed the door in, Cross and others followed closely, and saw nearly 10 Marine officers gathered in the large box, most of them gathered around a large solid wood round table, eating and drinking all kinds of food and drinks piled up on the round table. Ha ha ha. Zephyr, come on, I left you sherry wine. At this time, an old man with gray and white short hair saw Zephyr, he waved his hands quickly, and greeted him with a hearty laugh. I saw that the other party was tall, broad-chested, muscular, with a scar on his left eye, his eyes were blue, with short gray-white hair and a beard, wearing a white suit, a blue shirt, and a blue tie. Wearing Marine's coat of justice. That's right, the person in front of Cross is the legendary figure in Marine, the well-known, Marine hero, with titles such as, Garp the Fist, the man who has driven the One Piece King Luogia into a desperate situation several times, Monkey D. Garp. You guy, I heard your voice outside the restaurant, can't you keep your voice down? Zephyr said with a headache. PFF'd ha 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 ha. Garp burst into tears, and laughed loudly. Yeah, I haven't felt it yet. Ha 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 ha. Too loud Garp, keep it down. Crane sitting on the side opened his eyes and said helplessly. I'm sorry Xiaohei, I didn't pay attention. Ha ha ha. Garp laughed nonchalantly again. Advertisement. Still so energetic, Mr. Garp. Kuzan, who was sleeping, was woken up, and reluctantly took off the blindfold on his face, then looked at Zephyr and Cross, and greeted with a smile. Teacher Zephyr, how are you? We met Cross again. Smoker and Hina are here too. Kuzan Vice Admiral, long time no see. Cross responded with a smile. Yo, Kuzan, long time no see. Smoker waved his hands carelessly. Kuzan Vice Admiral, Hina responded more seriously. Find a seat for yourself, don't be shy. After turning his head and saying something to the three people behind him, Zephyr opened the seat and sat beside Garp. Seeing this, the three of Cross were not polite, and sat next to Zephyr one after another. After sitting down, Cross had the time to observe the crowd present, and found that among these people, all of them were members of the Marine Dove faction. Only Cross, Smoker and Hina, who are cadet sailors, are not considered to be doves, but Zephyr brought him, the three of them here with the intention of letting them join the doves. Wherever there are people, there will be factions. The same is true for the Marine Good Zhao's department. The current Marine is roughly divided into doves, hawks, and neutrals. Although there are other small factions, they are not worth mentioning. As far as Cross knows, the Dove faction in Marine is the strongest, headed by Admiral Sengoku, Marine Hero Garp, Chief Staff Officer Suru and others, including Kuzan, Dion and others, occupying nearly half of the backbone of Marine. Even Zephyr, who retreated to the second line, was once one of the leaders of the Doves. This can be seen from the students he trained. Although many people have joined the Hawks and Neutrals, most of them are Doves. And in the near future, after Sengoku, the only serving admiral, is promoted to the Marine Marshal, the Dovish forces within the Marine will increase in strength. Even Cross knows that Smoker and Hina are also among the Doves in the future. However, the Doves and Hawks are not in line with Cross's appetite. If he has to join a faction, the Uncle Pelusolino is more interesting. Advertisement Chapter 49. Don't talk about things without evidence. Advertisement. A group of Marine bosses were chatting in the restaurant, and Cross and the others were nothing but transparent, eating with their heads buried. Suddenly, while eating, Garp laughed and said, I heard that you killed the king of Frevan's kingdom. I really didn't expect you to do such a thing. Puff ha ha. Hearing Garp's words, Kuzan also looked at Zephyr curiously, shook his head and said, Yes, I just heard the news, I thought it was a rumor. That's right. That's right. Dion agreed on the sidelines. It's really not Uncle Zephyr's style to say that he shot and killed a king in public. Zephyr, what happened at that time? Is the lead mine really poisonous? He frowned slightly and asked in a deep voice. Hearing the people mentioning the Frevan's kingdom, Zephyr's face darkened, and he said in a muffled voice, It's just killing a piece of trash, there's nothing to talk about. After finishing speaking, Zephyr seemed to think of something, and his face became even more gloomy. He picked up the sherry in his hand and poured it into his mouth. At this time, Cross put down the pizza in his hand, took a sip of the juice, and said slowly, Actually, the specific incident happened as stated in the announcement, there is not much difference. The royal family of Frevan's kingdom has deceived the world for hundreds of years, causing most of the people in the entire Frevan's kingdom 433 to be infected with plethysmia, and there is no cure for it. As long as there is a large-scale outbreak of plethysmia, the Frane's kingdom will be over. Having said that, Cross paused for a moment, and said hesitantly, I suspect that the Ariel royal family will be planning to discuss with the world government when they participate in World Summit this time. The Ariel royal family will leave on the ship of the world government and completely abandon the kingdom of Frevans. Hearing this, everyone's expressions changed in surprise, and they could hardly believe Cross. Yes. One country Akoku abandoned his country. However, the Ariel royal family deceived their own people for hundreds of years, and the poisonous disease spread throughout the country. It is not impossible to give up the whole country at that time. So, Cross's guess is not unreasonable. Good kill. Garp looked angry and slammed the table with a hammer, almost knocking all the food and wine on the ground. Fortunately, he still had some sense and controlled his strength, otherwise the table would be torn apart with this punch. Crane was silent for a moment, and then slowly said, Your guess, don't talk about it when you get out of here. Everyone, forget about it when you get out of this door. Everyone was silent, making the atmosphere a bit heavy. Everyone understands the meaning of the crane. If Cross's guess is true, it means that the world government is actually in collusion with the Jarl royal family, and it is not as ignorant as the Shijingbao said. Advertisement. But since the world government has denied it, there is no need to hold on to it. After all, the Jarl royal family is all dead, and as long as the world government refuses to admit it, you have no evidence. So, don't bring it up on the table without evidence, or 5 elders will sue you for defamation. You slander me. Hey, I seem to be sleepwalking. Kuzan showed a bleary-eyed look, decisively pulled off the blindfold on his forehead, leaned back on the chair and fell asleep. All the people present except Smoker, Hina and Gion glared at the young people with an aggrieved look, and everyone else who was not old fried dough sticks lowered their heads one after another and began to eat on their own. PFF'd ha ha ha. Then, Garp patted Zephyr's shoulder with his oily palm, and said with a big smile, Don't look so sad, the culprit is dead anyway, I'll drink with you. B************************************************************************************ Zephyr slapped Garp's hand off his shoulder angrily, his fangs growling. In the following days, Cross' task is to be stationed in the Sabaody archipelago, waiting for the arrival of the 50 kings participating in the Open Black Lens Bracket World Summit Close Black Lens Bracket, and ensuring the smooth progress of the Open Black Lens Bracket World Summit Close Black Lens Bracket. At the same time, due to the boring waiting, Zephyr did not require everyone to be on call at any time, so they gave Cross and other students a holiday in batches, so that everyone had the opportunity to visit the beautiful Sabaody archipelago. Half of the people are released at a time, and half are left on standby on the warship to deal with emergencies. On this day, it was Cross's turn to have a holiday, so he, Smoker and others changed into casual clothes and came to Sabaody archipelago from Red Harbor to play and hang out. Thanks to World Summit, Marine stationed heavy troops on the Sabaody archipelago, which made the criminals on the island shrink back and made the security of each island much better. In fact, Cross wanted to go to Island 13, check in at Shaki's extortion bar, and take a look at the right wrist of One Piece, by the way. But after thinking about it, Cross gave up the idea. I am already a Marine, so I don't want to get too involved with pirates. Advertisement. No matter how much charm and style Pluton Rayleigh has, a pirate is a pirate, and crimes cannot be erased. On this point, he and Pelusolino have exactly the same views. The most important thing is that my current strength is still too weak. When I went to see Rayleigh, I couldn't pretend in front of the other party. I could only watch the other party pretend. The experience must be extremely bad. If you wait until you become stronger, you might be able to compare the pretend skills with Rayleigh, and the experience of meeting will definitely be much better. I will not lose to you. Come on, you've already lost to me. I will definitely not lose to you this time. I said there is something wrong with you guys. Why did you suddenly become a racing car? Several bubble cars galloped fast on the green grass, and even set off a gust of wind. The first marine bubble car contest is in full swing, with Cross, Smoker, Gasper and other contestants as the main players, while Hina, Mastason and Uchimura sat in the back with bewildered faces the seat, and even the facial features were deformed by the strong wind blowing head-on. Originally, everyone came out to play together, and bought a lot of things such as great buns, great chocolates, etc., which was quite harmonious. Until I rented a bubble car. The bubble car that was originally used for transportation turned into a competitive racing car for some reason. Especially Hina and others who are sitting in the back row have to hold the purchased items and prevent themselves from being blown off the bubble car. They really hate the competitors such as Cross and Smoker. Boom. Suddenly, a gunshot came from the shopping street in front, startling several contestants, and subconsciously applied the foot brake. Immediately afterwards, there were several gunshots of bang bang bang. The gunshots were not intense, and it didn't sound like someone was engaged in a gun battle, but rather like someone was shooting unilaterally. Mastason looked at the number on the tall Alchiman mangrove tree not far away, and said hesitantly, Island 130, do you want to see it? Everyone looked at each other, couldn't help looking at each other, and remembered Teacher Zephyr's warning before they left. If you meet some guys wearing blisters, don't stop them no matter what they do, unless you want to be caught by Marine Admiral Chase and kill, otherwise you must not hurt the other party. Could it be celestial dragons? Cross looked at the direction of Island 30 with a solemn expression, secretly guessing. There are a lot of things going on recently, so annoying, annoying, annoying. Advertisement Chapter 50 World Nobility, Celestial Dragons. Advertisement. Celestial dragons are world nobles living in Holy Land Mariajoy, descendants of 20 kings who established the world government 800 years ago. As a result, celestial dragons consider themselves descendants of the Creator, so they are arrogant and domineering, and they regard themselves as noble and disdain to breathe the same air as ordinary people, wear bubble hoods, and treat people of other races as slaves, enjoying all privileges. And the male celestial dragons will add a word, holy, after the name, while the female celestial dragons will add the word, gong, after the name to show their dignity. Even all the member countries of the world government have to pay a part of the treasure to the celestial dragons every year, otherwise they will be revoked as a member country and no longer be protected by the world government and marine. Most importantly, once the celestial dragons are offended, Admiral of the Naval Headquarters must be dispatched to protect. Over time, the power out of control caused by the abuse of power has made the celestial dragons behave badly and domineeringly, and it is not an exaggeration to say that they are unscrupulous. Zephyr knew that the actual rulers of the Sabaody archipelago were the celestial dragons, so when Cross and the others came out to enjoy their holidays, they sternly warned them not to stop the celestial dragons no matter what bad things they saw doing. Because offending celestial dragons is taboo. Maybe this is against justice, but the reality is like this, there has never been absolute justice, and there is no absolute fairness. At this time, Cross pondered for a few seconds and said, well, you guys leave first, I will go to Island 30 to check the situation alone, if there are pirates making trouble, I will solve it. If it is celestial dragons, I'll go and come back soon. I'll go with you, Smoker said in a deep voice, if you meet a powerful pirate, you can take care of each other. Cross looked at Smoker's serious expression, nodded and said, then let's go together. After finishing speaking, the two got off the driving seat of the bubble car and walked in the direction of Island 30. Quote question mark question mark question mark quote. Hina, Gasper, Mastason and others looked confused. I wipe. Feel free to ask our opinion. The next second, everyone roared in unison. You two bastards, don't make decisions on your own. Advertisement. Cross waved his hands without looking back, and stepped on the bridge with Smoker, and quickly disappeared from everyone's sight. Although Hina, Gasper, Mastason and others were helpless, they still accepted Cross's proposal. Celestial dragons, as the nobility of the world, is obviously a troublesome existence. If the other party has done something bad, their group of people will run over and see it. If you offend the celestial dragons, your life will definitely be ruined. Therefore, those marine recruits should not contact celestial dragons out of curiosity, so as not to cause any trouble. On the contrary, if it is pirates instead of celestial dragons, with the strength of Cross and Smoker, ordinary pirates are no match for these two people at all, and there is no need to worry about their safety at all. On the shopping street of Island Number 30, hundreds of thousands of people on both sides of the street bowed their heads and knelt on the ground. Even though the gunshots echoed in their ears, they only showed unbearable expressions but did not dare to move at all. On the whole street, there were only a few people standing, including a big dog. Inferior people, mere human. Of course it's your honor to be my slave, to dare to run away. A green-haired celestial dragon was wearing a bubble hood and gorgeous costume similar to space suits. He looked angrily at a man and a woman covered in blood on the ground, cursing and kicking at the same time. Two people. Beside this celestial dragons, a big white dog squatted obediently on the ground, and was actually wearing a bubble hood. There were more than a dozen knights in full plate armor behind them, holding night guns. Moreover, there are many marine soldiers hiding in the surrounding area. As long as anyone dares to invade the celestial dragons, they will definitely be besieged by these people. Cross and Smoker hid in the corner of the alley next to the street, looking at the celestial dragons with ugly faces. Damn, the two of them obviously can't move. Smoker gritted his teeth, clenched his fists tightly, and wisps of white smoke emerged from his body uncontrollably. Calm down. Cross pressed Smoker's shoulder, and said coldly, they both got shot several times, you can't save anyone by rushing up now, and you'll put yourself in. At this time, a man in a black suit trotted through the crowd, came to Celestial Dragons respectfully, and asked softly, San Muscarid, the auction of the Employment Security Office is about to start. See. Advertisement. *****. Saint Muscarid stopped his movements, turned his head curiously and asked, any interesting slaves or items? I heard that several strong murlocs were caught. Strong murloc. Holy Muscarid's eyes lit up, and he said hastily, great, I happen to be short of a few interesting collections. I want those strong murlocs to be my slaves. After finishing speaking, Muscarid San raised his hand, holding an ivory-handled pistol inlaid with sapphires, aimed at a man and a woman on the ground and pulled the trigger, but there was a click sound. It's out of bullets. Muscarid San was a little upset, and said to the man in front of him, give me your gun, I will blow the heads of these two low-level people. What a pleasure. The man quickly took out his percussion pistol from his arms, and handed it to the celestial dragons respectfully. Muscarid San looked at the other side's pistol with some distaste, but still took it. At the same time, Smoker couldn't bear it anymore, and whispered angrily, let go of me, I'm going to save people. You rushed up just looking for death. Cross said with a cold face, leave it to me to deal with it. As soon as the words fell, the Muscarid Saint on the street had already aimed his gun at the two people on the ground, and the index finger touched the trigger. And just before Muscarid San pulled the trigger. Cross's eyes were wide open, and a terrifying power erupted from him, making the air tremble, as if rendering the sky and the earth gray and white, and even whipped up a violent gust of wind out of thin air. All of a sudden, a violent gust of wind swept out, and everyone on the street, whether they were civilians, marine soldiers or soldiers of the Holy Land Defense Corps, all had their eyes turned white like a gust of wind blowing through a wheat field, like bone no me card like, plop plop, fainted and fell to the ground. The same is true for the venerable celestial dragon's Muscarid, who was not different because of his status as a descendant of the Creator, and passed out on the spot he fell heavily on the ground. Advertisement.